Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, Arvanauts. Welcome to a Tuesday stream. It is April 6, 2021. It is 12:30 p.m. Eastern, and the time has come, ladies and gentlemen, for more of this Erebor Adventures, our first, first tabletop session of the month, I believe, here as we move into April, move fully into spring in 2021, what I hope will be a better spring for everybody. And we do so by moving into Adventures in Middle-earth. So I hope everyone is having a good Tuesday, and you are looking forward to what is going to be, I expect, an awesome stream today. I also have a couple of announcements that I'm going to want to make, which I think will make people happy. And I have one particularly big announcement that I'm going to make. Well, actually, one announcement's big and one, but both announcements are big. What am I saying? They're just announcements, okay? They're announcements, and everyone loves an announcement. I mean, what's not to love about an announcement? Anyway, but I hope everyone is ready for the stream today. Before we get any further, just let me remind everyone about ways to support us here on the channel. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to follow the channel. Please make sure to check out our YouTube with _ArvTube, where you can find past broadcasts of this and other streams. No, this is not an announcing of an announcement. This is actually an announcement. What's up, Hilness? And hi, Echo, and hi, Mrs. Dunslin, live suing Intrepid. So !ArvTube is the YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, there will be at least one announcement. That's right, Miss Big Boss. What's up? If you haven't already done so, please make sure as well to check out the Discord, !ArvCord, where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. And !ArvTweets is my Twitter. Following me over there is great as well. I always try to tweet when I go live, etc. And the website for all of this is arvaneleron.com. On the financial side, !ArvShop is the merchandise area where you can get stuff supporting both Adventures in Middle-earth and Infinity and Beyond and the like. And that's the kind of thing, actually, that I'm going to be expanding and adjusting and making changes in and so on over time. So you'll want to definitely, keep your eyes peeled for that. So we've got that going on. Then we have !ArvTreon currently sitting at 21 patrons and $1.92 per month, which is great. We ticked back up because one patron has boosted their contribution, which is very nice of them. And you will be able to get stuff for you and for the players, including inspirations to help the players. The inspirations are now up to date, by the way, so we are caught up for April, and that means that everything is reset, so you can help the players on their merry way as we continue through our many campaigns here over the course of the month. And we've got, of course, !ArvTreon for that, and you can subscribe to the channel, which allows you to get those custom sub badges and emotes and also inspirations to help the players as well. On the publishing side, Icarus is my graphic novel from Athos Arts, and I'm going to have an announcement involving Athos Arts in just a moment, actually. That's one of the announcements I'm going to be making. So Icarus for that. Then we have !Library, which is Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, my 5e adventure sourcebook, already out in digital, already out in print, and by out, I mean out in a container in a box somewhere on customs in the United States, and if they would ever be so kind as to actually release our freaking product, we could get it out to everybody. That would be lovely. And !Greyshade KS for details about the Greyshade Kickstarter, and it is that about which I'm going to be making an announcement relating to Athos as well in just a moment. And then we have, of course, as always, !BLM, Black Lives Matter. Still, Hillness, it's unbelievable. !BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives, continues to be hugely important. And !Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention, very important to reach out to others when you need help and reach out to others when they need help as well. Now, with all of that said, I am going to unmute myself so the folks know that we are ready to go, and then I'm going to unmute them and apologize for interrupting them ahead of time.
He was trying to do kind of a shiatsu.
Then I'm going to go over to here.
We're sitting there and he's like, "What is this armor?" Is he sitting there punching? What do you want?
Well, you know what I realized is that in the middle of your talking, I realized that the webcams got fouled up. So I'm just going to fix these pictures. So the story you were telling, I'm sure, was great and exciting, and
yes, actually
had all these elements to it.
Yeah,
and had all these elements to it that were super good. And there we go. And now I've got trends fixed, and so that will allow me to introduce him. But I wanted to make an announcement first, darn it all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Then I will make this announcement regarding something of mine, which I'm very excited about, and then we will continue with the awesome session for today. So I will begin, as always, with the gentleman below me, who I terribly, interrupted in doing whatever the awesome story was that he was saying. And that, of course, is Mr. Trendane Sparks. Trend, how are you doing? If you can ever forgive me for having interrupted you, how is life in the universe over by you, and who are you playing today?
If you just did it once,
It's true. It always happens, doesn't it? It's true.
Yeah.
It's a pattern, really.
It's bizarre how often it happens. It's almost as though it's set up ahead of time, like seconds ahead.
Madness.
Yeah, I know. So hi, I'm Trent Sparks. I'm a person.
I believe that's true. I believe you are.
Good. There, independent confrontation. Wow, this is going to be a great game. Okay, confirmation. Voice actor and audiobook narrator. I'll say it now before I forget it. If you did not get a chance to, please feel free to go listen to my April Fool's narration for the Escape Pod, where we did the short story Bargain. It's really funny. I had a lot of fun doing it, and it's just, don't do it right now. Do it later.
Do it right now. Go right now. Actually, don't go right now. Yeah, that's not a good idea.
I mean, unless you want to have both running, but then you might hear me talking to me, and that could be a little confusing. It would be like Icarus. Anyway.
Quite confusing.
Yes, very. And except that, Icarus just shredded my throat in certain parts.
Oh, I know. It was still worth it. I mean, not at all. It was terrible.
It was awesome. Anyway. Yeah. And I am playing this guy, whose name is Bane Tonybear, the Hearthmender dwarf friend. It's important to do your finger like that while you do it, because he likes bees and honey, which he bakes into, like twice, bakes it into honey cakes, thus calling
just the honey, though, not the bees.
Right. Very important.
Not the bees.
They are the spicy sky raisin. Yes. Anyway, hey, I didn't name them that. It's just, there's a picture of like a really stupid looking chocolate Labrador, and it's got a fly, and it says sky raisin. It's got a picture of a bee. It's spicy sky raisin.
We have a song about that in German.
Oh, really?
Yes.
We'll have to hear that at some point. And I am also a very well noted fox hugger, like Live Swing, who I have hugged many times over the decades that we've known each other. Anyway, so Tony Bear is a healer and a scholar, mostly a healer, a little bit of a scholar, and sometimes a crime fighter ish.
That's true, actually.
Most of the crime fighting, however, gets done by these lovely ladies right here.
That's true. That's what we need as a spin-off, is Dale, True Crime. Like we need we totally need like the equivalent of The Wire, except it would be like The Raven or something. Like just, I'm very excited for the new police spin-off. No?
Dog and Pony Show.
Oh, yes. Yes. That's a good one.
No, oh God, looking at those scowls, maybe not. Okay.
No, because anytime you involve them on the front of the stage, they're like, does that mean they could get hit and maybe hurt or maybe killed? Is that what that means?
It's a rotten tomato.
Fane Tawny Bear, the dog hater. Is that what that means?
Hey, no, I think Tawny has done more to heal and save Stone than
True.
anyone else, actually. I mean, River is always the one bringing him into danger, so...
These are true friends.
He's always the one providing the danger, though. So
that's true.
Him up there, that guy, right?
Oh, me? Listen, I'm just the messenger. I don't.
You're not
listen.
just the messenger.
I just convey what happens. That's all I am. I just call balls and strikes. No, it is good to have Trent with us as always. It is also as always good to have Terry with us. But before I introduce Terry, I do want to mention that Brad unfortunately is not able to join us today. He had a bunch of stuff going on both before and right after this session today, so he cannot join us for this one. He will be here at the next one. He apologizes. He also says that he inspires anyone who needs it with Flank Searer. I have no doubt that is true. So we will let the rest of the party manage as they go along. So Brad is an excellent writer, and you should check out all the stuff that Brad does. But Brad will not be joining us today, sadly. But someone who will be joining us today, of course, is the aforementioned...
Real quick note, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Real quick note is that he's actually full of crap. Brad is not here because he overdosed on chocolate bunnies. That's why he's not here.
I mean, look, I think I basically implied that. What? But that is the case with Brad. And then right below we have Terry Tunes, who I can already tell by having spent most of her time looking downwards is in the process of drawing. I have this instinct.
No.
I have this instinct not only for artists, it's the same thing with guitarists in my band. Guitarists never actually focus without being like, like seriously. As the vocalist, I can tell you, this is the way artists are. They are constantly drunk. So, and that's how Terry got to be so good. So, you know, all of you who just fired up that, like echoes. That's a really good one, actually. The Arvany smug with the eggs in front of it. That's a good emote mod. I love that echo. Anyway, she did all that work, so I understand that it's the price of creative brilliance, I guess. Terry, how are you? How's life, the universe with you, and who are you playing today?
Hi, I'm Tari. I'm an artist, apparently.
Apparently?
So some people claim.
Evidently.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I like to draw things, and when I don't draw things, then I play a dwarf over here. Her name is, and I have to do the thing with the finger, Thane Inge Homefinder, daughter of Ida, Council of Dine II.
Nice.
Well, that works.
Yeah, she is a wanderer, and like I said, a dwarf from the Erebor. And she has a pony with plot armor.
I like, by the way, how this happy animal thing that you all started with has increasingly become a deeply suspicious, like, why are you bringing up the animal? Why? Why are you bringing up the animal? Maybe there's an animal. You don't know. Like,
oh yeah, this animal, by the way.
Yeah, see?
Here, because I did my white laundry for like the first time this year, because I have like 3 white shirts, so like I never do white laundry. It's like it always stays at the very bottom of the laundry basket. So yeah, but no, I did wash this one finally. So yeah, that's who I'm playing, and that's the hearse.
The hearse.
The hearse.
I'm excited to have
that's me.
both dwarf and hearse involved with this. We've got a lot of dwarven stuff going on today, as we'll talk about. But last, but of course certainly not least, right below Terry on the column is Amal Almatara, who is with us. And Amal, it is good to see you. And without getting into details about things that were discussed in the green room, how are you doing otherwise, and who are you playing today?
I am doing pretty well. It's a beautiful day out there. Also, yesterday, a truly, truly wonderful and amazing thing happened, which I can't believe I neglected to tell Tari. So this book of mine and Max's inspired a death metal song. Which
I
is
saw that
actually
on
really
Twitter.
good.
What?
Yeah, I saw it on
It's like
Twitter. Yeah.
Link.
Long. I'm linking it to you.
Thanks.
Linking it to you. It is so good. I mean, obviously I am not a very distinguished listener of metal, but I loved this. I thought it was great. So I'm just gonna let's see, open this without making it play. Hopefully. Here it is.
As we hear coming from Amal's.
Love is the answer to this book.
The hilarious thing about this is that it opens very melodically and lovelily. I should put it in the chat actually. Oh, I totally failed to open
It's probably
the chat.
melodic death metal.
Which
is a genre.
So the guy describes it as if you like time traveling, sapphic sci-fi, obtuse forms of communication, and proggy death metal, I've got stuff for you.
Ooh.
But I super love his vocals. I think like they're really astonishing, and yeah, and the album has dropped today also. So if you do like what you hear, then you can get the whole album if you wish. But it's just the fun thing about it for me as well is that my mom listened to it before I could stop. I was like, this cool thing happened, and she basically said, I liked the beginning and I liked the ending.
Yep.
But everything in the middle just gave me a headache. And I was like,
that is exactly what my mom used to do about one of our songs called, it was called Bipolar, and it was about a person who had struggled with a disorder. Anyway, and it starts with exactly the same way. And she used to say exactly the same thing, like, Greg, I really enjoyed the opening section, and the part where I was like, what about the middle? She's like, then there was that. And I'm like, right. I'm like, yep. Oh man. Anyway.
This is black metal, not death metal. Different thing. All good.
Terry is a
This doesn't
snob
count as death
about
metal.
metal.
I am a snob.
Snob.
Yes.
Wait, no, I need to know. So you would not call this death metal for what reason? What is the distinguishing character?
There's no death. No, I don't know.
I
No,
mean, I
it
died
just
when I
sounds
saw it.
different. Like I can usually tell by the singing because like the singing, it's like the versus the.
So he doesn't have the microphone in his mouth while he's singing.
I love so much that you made two sounds
Yeah.
that I cannot distinguish between.
Don't
As-
worry, I
like-
wasn't able to distinguish the two either for a long, long time.
Excellent.
Because I was just a noob who only listened to power metal. Now I can.
So what would you call this? What would this actually be called?
This is melodic black metal.
Melodic black metal?
Yeah.
Amazing.
It sounds
Okay.
great.
I love this. I love this so much. Anyway, so that is my joy that I have experienced yesterday that I wish to share. Other than that, I am what else am I things and stuff. Things are good. I am playing a character called The River, who is a woodman of Roscobel and who is a warden, aka fighty bard, who has a wonderful companion hound of Mirkwood named Stone, who is very big and very soft. Actually, I don't know how soft he. I have no
Wiry
idea how soft
coat,
he is. He probably
maybe,
has,
or-
like,
Well, the guard hairs are wiry, but
yeah,
the
he's got
undercoat is
guard
not.
hairs, but I think that if you pet him, he's actually very soft underneath,
Like
Yeah.
a shark.
like a shark.
Wow.
Stone the land shark. But yeah.
Candygram. I'm a land shark. I'm a dolphin man.
I'm a dolphin, yeah.
Still one of the underrated skits. Anyway, but always a pleasure to have Amal and Stone, and to have Terry
Oh, man.
and Lillimon with us. Just
Yeah, I'm not here until I finish listening to the song.
I just remembered my mom would not let me watch that skit because she thought it was too violent, but she was fine with me watching Watership Down.
What?
So-
What? I don't.
No, I know.
Okay. Interesting. Anyway.
Nothing with bunnies in it could be violent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, absolutely.
I mean, any animated movie is for kids, right?
Oh God. So many freaky
Mhm.
moments about that.
That
Anyway.
was me when I was 5 years old and also watched Watership Down.
Mhm.
Maybe younger, probably younger.
Yeah, exactly what I'm saying. It's a cartoon, not real life. Yeah, exactly. All right, so it is wonderful to have all of them here. Now, I want to make two quick announcements because I was trying to get the windows all fixed. So, announcement the first, which I will mention as well at the end of today. People have been asking what I'm going to be playing in the Pen and Pixels slot over at GOG. I know Echo has been very excited about that, and the answer is that I'm going to be today doing the premiere of Neverwinter Nights 2 Complete. It is a game that I have never actually finished the main campaign of, and the reason I'm doing this is because I wanted to play Mask of the Betrayer, but Mask of the Betrayer really makes sense a lot more if you play the main campaign first. So I'm going to be launching it on GOG, but also playing it on my channel when video game streams come up. So it's my first ever cross-channel Neverwinter Nights here and there, and both GOG and here. So I'm going to be doing Neverwinter Nights 2 Complete. That'll be starting this afternoon. And at some point I will play my novel, The Third Sign, which was converted into a Neverwinter Nights 2 module because I still think that's cool. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
So
Yes.
you
Oh,
should
really,
look
T-Bag?
forward to like this companion joining you in Mask of the Betrayer.
What the? Oh, okay.
He-
Wow, really? That's okay. So cool. So that, see, I don't even know.
Spoilers, I guess.
I am
the game is like
excited.
50 years old.
50
not keep it
years
complete.
old. At least 50. Yeah, so anyway, that's what's happening with that. Now, so that's one announcement. The other announcement, which I'm very excited about because I know that Ballsteg is in chat right now, is to say that, as you know, I have my Gray Shade Kickstarter coming out soon. And you also know that Icarus, my graphic novel, has been named one of the finalists, one of the medalists, 3 medalists in the Independent Book Publishers Association Benjamin Franklin Awards, which will be held officially in May. And I am one of 3 finalists. And if we win, I'll be a gold medalist, which would be lovely if that happened. That book, of course, was published by Athos Arts. Well, I'm very excited to announce that Athos Arts is also going to be the publisher of record for the Gray Shade books. Now, the Gray Shade books are part of the Gray Shade Kickstarter, but the way that we have decided to do this, because of both coronavirus and dealing with various scheduling and all that stuff, is we are going to have, Athos is going to be publishing, before any Kickstarter at all, the first book in the Grey Assassin trilogy series, which is the book Greyshade. And so Athos Arts is going to be publishing Greyshade, which is super exciting. The second and third book, Harrogate and Renetic, yes, absolutely. I'm capable of speaking all the time. I do it for a
true
living.
wordsmith.
Yes, exactly. I can see why you're so gifted as an author, all right? Renegade and Heretic are what I was actually trying to say. Those two books and the board game and the tabletop role-playing game being produced by Alligator Alley, the board game being done by Clarion Game Studios, all of that is going to be coming out in a Kickstarter, which will be happening in late summer. Originally, we had planned to launch this early in the year, but through a series of events that I won't get into, mostly involving trying to get everyone on board because of the disastrous situation that the pandemic has caused, not only in the world, but in the games industry specifically, this is a good way to sort of deal with that. And so I'm very, very excited about it because Athos, as you all know, does amazing work. I already told you about what it did for Icarus. So I'm very excited that Athos is going to be publishing Greyshade. So that book is going to be coming out again, separate from any Kickstarter, but it is going to be the thing that hopefully gets people really pumped up for the Kickstarter, which will deal with the last two books, the tabletop role-playing game and the board game. So this is the exciting announcement that I'm really happy to give right now, and I wanted to thank Athos for being willing and interested in publishing this work. So thank you to Garlic Tofu and Ballsteg who are in chat. And I hope everyone will be excited to pick it up, even those of you who were nice enough to get the original from the Ed Greenwood group. This manuscript does have differences. It, for example, does not have any of Ed Greenwood's stuff in it. It is a manuscript that existed before Ed Greenwood actually published it. And so even those of you who have that earlier edition, this will have some differences. It will also have, of course, new cover art. And so there's a lot happening, and I'm very excited to have Athos on board. So that is my big announcement. Big two announcements. The first one about Neverwinter Nights was not that big a deal, but the second one was important to me. So I wanted to let everybody know the deal with that. So I think that's all I need to say about that. Greyshade TV series when? Oh, Big Boss, listen, from your lips to the producer's ears, I would love to see it. Your original Stormtown's copy will be worth millions. Yes, it will be worth literal millions of something. I don't know what.
Zimbabwe dollars.
Exactly. I don't know what the amount. But anyway, so yes, so that's my announcement. I wanted to make that before we got the videos captured, but I didn't do it, so my bad. But now that I made that announcement, I can move on to the Dogecoin. It'll be worth 1 million Dogecoin. It'll be worth a million NRTs. What is that? NFTs, NTOs,
Oh, yeah.
NDAs,
No, don't.
NAGs. I've heard that's already collapsed, which is hilarious.
Is
Anyway,
that the thing where they like steal art and like put like
Basically.
virtual? Oh God.
See, that's why the true NFT is National Fiber Technologies, who made Chewbacca's fur. So
oh yeah,
that is the only NFT I need.
Oh,
Also,
for
the
sure.
Haunted Verdun pack werewolf costumes are all NFT as well.
So
I wonder why you know that.
Because I know most of them. Yes.
all right. But having
That
said
is
all
like
of that,
such a general knowledge thing that like anybody would know.
So better go before we spin off. And do
yes,
something.
let's proceed. I think we should do that. We are in the world of Middle Earth, and we are in the land and the city of Dale. And for those of you who have not had a chance to watch other parts of this series, let me remind you all, you can find all of this on my YouTube channel under the Erebor Adventures playlist, where all of these have been archived. But what happened in our last session is that the party, the heroes of Dale, have found themselves more invested than perhaps they might have originally expected in the workings and the life of Dale. After a Fellowship Phase 2 sessions ago, in our last session, they found themselves drawn into some problems that are facing the dwarves specifically. They met Balin, who had been the famous Balin, one of the companions of Thorin Oakenshield, who reclaimed the Lonely Mountain for the dwarves, with a little bit of help from a hobbit and perhaps a guy named Bard. But otherwise, they were the ones responsible for reclaiming it. And Balin was found by the party having been ambushed ambushed by a group of ruffians who had apparently, he had managed to escape, fell down this ravine and thus escaped notice, and was injured but not terribly so. And so the party was able to tend to him, speak to him, and he continued on his way with them to Dale. The party believed that they had seen, actually, the members of this group that had attacked him floating by in a boat before, but did not realize it in time, basically. And so now they're still they were frustrated about that, and they want to find out where the hell these people went and find out more details about them if they can. But when they got to Dale, they also, after having parted ways with Balin, went around and did a couple of errands of their own, and then discovered, as they went to the famous toy market of Dale, which was taking place the next day, the terrible rumor that Balin himself had been killed, that he had been basically again ambushed, not the time they thought, but a second time within the city, and was murdered, and that this had created no end of disquiet and sadness and grief among many people in Dale, but in particular, of course, the dwarves of Erebor. The party, in trying to figure this out, though, had been given a clue by Balin the night before, which was to say that when trouble came, that they should seek out a young dwarf named Thrun. The party went forward and found this young dwarf, Thrun, who is right here. And Thrun, it turns out, was a toy maker who was showing the crowd in the market some of his exciting toys when he fell afoul of two disgruntled dwarves from the Iron Hills who were very angry, apparently, that he was selling his goods to humans and that he was wasting his time and degrading the dwarves' craft. And they almost would have come to blows were it not for the timely intervention of the party, which managed to step in and sort of lower the stakes a little bit and basically protect Thrun and the rest of them from having things go any further. One of the reasons they found out that the dwarves were so upset is because, in general, they felt that the dwarves had become too beholden to humans, and in particular that their smithcraft was basically dropping in quality because they were putting out what they viewed as basically mass-produced stuff as opposed to the quality work that dwarves obviously are known for producing. And so the party, with this knowledge and armed with this information, went forward and were eventually found themselves passing by a particular, I think it was a house or a warehouse, something like that. They opened the door. A door opened. It basically knocked on the door opened, and a hand beckoned from the shadows to bid them quickly inside. And who should they find in there? None other than the quite alive Balin, son of Fundin. And that is where we ended our session last time, and that is where we pick up today. So the party has just had this encounter with the not dead Balin. And Balin draws them in and says, well met again, and then putting a finger to his lips, says, come, follow me down, and turns around and brings them down, and he's actually carrying a candle in a holder, although, of course, as Inga knows, dwarves would not need this to see in the dark, but this is for the benefit of the Bjorning and Woodman companion. It heads down this flight of stairs. You can follow him if you wish.
Wait, so Tony is also there?
Oh, sorry, Tani was, I beg your pardon. That's true, Tani was not there. Tani was back at the palace, I believe, right? We've gone back to the palace. Yes, and in fact, I think I was going to start with you. I'm sorry, Tren. I completely forgot about that. Yes, that's right.
Tren.
We were gonna. No, I'm apologizing to Tren the player. Ton the character.
No. You said Tren. That's.
Did I? Canon now.
Oh, okay.
I have to change all my identification.
I have to call you Trenny Bear, which would be
Trenny Bear.
I really recommend that you don't do that.
Trenny Bear, make it go. Make Trenny Bear trend. Let's have it happen.
Trendy. Oh no.
So I'm gonna go grab a bunch of furry porn and start posting it in chat. Okay?
someone's turn to be to Skel. Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. So let me just quickly and unartfully say that Balin leads the River and Inga and Bolo down the stairs. While they're going downstairs, I'm going to cut back to Tani because I did promise that I was going to start with Tani.
You have to keep your promises to me.
Yeah, no, it's
except
important.
that you won't call me that.
It's important.
That one you have to keep.
Well, listen,
Go ahead.
You'll have to talk to.
What, Trent?
Well,
Please
Yes,
tell us
Trent,
what's
exactly. Yeah, exactly as you said.
Oh man. So So you are now at the palace. So I
I
get
don't
so.
remember why, but yeah.
Well, I think you were going there to report, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, because we figured somebody needed to tell them about the boat full of people.
Right. So
We were the only ones who saw it.
that's right. So let me actually start out with that. So you are at walking up to the palace. So I guess the question is, who are you going to, or like, what do you want to do? You want to just like, quick, the British are coming. Like, what would you actually like to point out? How do you want to do this?
I guess it would be 2 lights because they were coming by boat.
Right. Exactly.
But,
That's right. 2 if by sea. Yes.
Well, not by sea, but as close to it as we can.
By
get
river.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. She's going
Different river. Yes.
Yeah. We never make that joke ever. So he's not going to go directly to. What is that? Tally, what is that?
Chocomel.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So what is it?
Chocolate milk, but better.
Oh. Hmm.
Well,
Right.
Now I'm confused about your reaction, but go on.
Well, the fact that it ended in Mel, I thought it was a mixture. I thought it was basically chocolate milk with caramel mixed into it. And I was like,
Oh, no, it's from the Dutch milk, which is just
Oh.
Dutch for milk. So,
whatever.
sorry.
Okay, not nearly as exciting. Anyway, yeah, he probably wouldn't go directly to Bard for this. He would go to the captain of the guard.
Okay. So let's pull that up. Okay. So when you go to the captain of the guard, who I believe is Cardis, when you go to the captain of the guard, now the captain of the guard, so you know, may not be at the palace, might be at the barracks. Just so you know, it's up to you.
I was basically going to ask along the way, where is Cardis?
Yeah, you would find him probably at the barracks, which is down in the southern portion. So do you want to go there instead? Okay. So if you head over to and the barracks would be down. Yeah, exactly. So when you get there, it's a lot quieter than the last time that you were there. There are, of course, a couple of guards, as always, standing out front. And inside there are a few guards who are kind of milling about in various states off duty. Obviously, a couple of them obviously getting ready to go change shifts or something like that. But you can see Cardis is actually sitting down at a desk, not standing looking at the big map behind him like you have of the Sword Coast, but the big map behind him of Dale, and he is down
This
looking.
map is Dale Reckoning, though. Just so we're clear.
Oh, Dale. Okay, good. That's good to know. So he's just looking down at the desk, kind of lost in thought when you come in.
Captain.
Oh, Tony, I'm sorry. It's been quite a few days. And he stands up. You can see that he has like bags under his eyes, Tony. He looks tired. And he says, "What can I do for you?"
Well, I'm tempted to ask what I could do for you. However, I have a sneaking suspicion that I...
Wait a minute. Does Tawny know about? Yeah, because he was there with the toy maker thing, right? And
Yeah, I mean, yes.
yeah,
I
he
think
knows
so.
that Balin's been killed.
Right. He doesn't know about his resurrection yet.
Right.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I would imagine it's been a rough time.
He nods slowly. So you've heard then?
Yes, we've only just arrived, but we saw him not 2-3 days ago.
It's bad business. Someone like that, it's bad for 2 reasons. Not just because losing someone like that isn't something that we can afford, but at the moment, things between the dwarves and Dale being as they are, this isn't going to help.
True. And that sort of brings me to my reason for coming here. While we were on our way back, when we ran into him, was briefly after he was attacked on the road. And we found him, helped him out of the gully he was in, and we walked with him back here. But before we found him, we did note a bit of a longboat, one of the large ruddered ones for much deeper water, with a full crew of oarsmen making with very deliberate speed down the river headed this way at extreme, as fast as that boat would go. I'd have sworn they were trying to snap the oars off with the force they were using. But they made no sign that they noticed us. They didn't respond to us at all if we hailed them. They seemed very focused. It was difficult to tell because they were all hooded, even given how warm it was. But when we found Balin, the fact that his two escorts were not there, their bodies gone, we couldn't see what was in the boat. But it is not impossible that if they were in the boat, they could have been keelward. My question to you is, has a boat such as this arrived by river recently?
And so he kind of thinks about it, and he says, naval traffic and traffic on the river in particular has been something I've been wanting to do more work with. I worry a little bit, especially given what happened recently with the poisoned thread and with Longo, that there may be other ways into Dale. But I haven't been able to figure out a way yet, at least, to get enough men down there. I don't know of any particular boat like that, but I know who you could ask. If you were to go to the Keys and ask around for a man named Halward is what I meant to say. Look around for a man named Halward. He's the present reeve of the Keys. If anyone knows the boats that are going in and out of this place, Halward will. He's, rather, how do I put this? Gruff and not overly friendly with what he sees as outsiders. But he's loyal, and I guarantee he's not going to have gone over to any dark side, any negatives that I can imagine come from him being too suspicious, if anything. But if he says that he's seen something or not seen something, you can trust it, as far as I trust my own life.
All right, very well.
One thing you might want to note, though. First of all, I'll tell my men about it and get them working on this. But when you go down there, be aware that the Keys are not secure. There may be some others who may ask you questions. Many of them may be reliable, some of them may not be. And his voice lowers a little bit, even though there's only a couple of guards in the hall, and he says, I've tried to be increasingly careful even around here. The overwhelming majority of these men I would also trust with my life. But there are rumors and suspicions abroad in Dale. And it's possible that, well, I don't know who has ears all the time. And at the Keys, it's possible that others may be working for people who mean us ill. Use discretion, I suppose, is what I'm asking.
Never seems to end, does it?
I've been at this job now for at least 3 decades. No, Thane Tawny Bear, it never seems to end. Only the pause at the end of a current threat before the beginning of a new one. Still, we keep doing it, and every so often, we actually have a victory or two.
Here's to hoping we find one of those very soon.
And he nods and he says, do you want any of my men to go with you, or simply be aware that you're out there?
At the moment, I would say simply be aware that we're out there. But if you have any trusted men who are normally stationed there, let them know that we may need to call upon them. As it stands, we are not exactly the most unobtrusive group, given our notoriety, but having guards with us would only make that more less. Kind of lost the trail of that sentence somewhere. But you know what I mean.
He nods and he says, I understand. Well, discretion will be our watchword as well as yours. Good luck to you, Tani. And you know where to find me if need be.
Get some sleep.
As soon as there's, what did you call it? An end? And he kind of, rubs his temples and he says, but I'm all right. I'll get as much rest as I can. And he kind of sinks back down as you presumably depart. So are you headed directly to the keys? Do you want to find your companions? What is your next move?
I don't think I know where they are.
The keys are, I will...
No, not the keys. I mean my companions.
Oh, your companions. Oh. All right.
I know where the
Just,
keys are.
Just text us.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
fine.
right,
Just,
okay.
just go walk out in the middle
Send
of
a
the street.
raven. It's fine.
I was going to say it. Twitter. Yeah. Raven, come here.
Just walk out in the middle of the street
Croaker,
and just
as
be
they
like,
say.
fading home by the river. That kind of thing. That'll definitely be also
They wouldn't.
discreet and not.
They wouldn't hear me. Stone!
Yeah, exactly. Stone is like, and you all laughed at Thunder, Thundercats. There was a reason that these things were useful. All right.
Mhm.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm not sure. Would you have? Well, I thought you did talk to them about where you were going, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, people. But
I told them where I was going, but I wasn't present for the situation with the toy maker. And
However, Bolo was still there.
Yeah.
Like he was cooking for people, so he might still be there. So
No, so here's. Oh, look
oh, there's a person in the background.
Oh,
where's mine?
no.
No?
On me.
What's the food? What's the food?
It is peanut butter toast with spicy honey.
Oh.
Nice.
Nice. I should have also requested a tissue. Oh well, I can get that.
Hey, there's a book back there you could use.
I
Maybe you
mean,
should
lots
share
of
your
them-
food.
lots of them back here, actually, and I have like a scarf. I have many beautiful textile objects, none of which I should use to wipe peanut butter off my finger.
Mhm.
No, I think so. Here's what I remember about last time, that Bolo was, actually keeping the grumpy dwarves occupied while we talked to
Thrune,
Yeah.
yes.
and that we went there, and that so the thought was that, like, I don't know if Bolo followed us thereafter and we were actually all together.
I don't think so. In fact, I even looking at the map just now, I believe I have River, Stone, and Inga on this side in this house.
Yeah.
And then
Those
Bolo
were
is in the
far
market, and then
Yeah, the Raven led us by a very circuitous route. I think what probably makes sense is to say that we probably decided at a certain time we would meet back at a certain place. Probably either the Battered Mug or an inn that we're staying at, but yeah. I think the Battered Mug makes sense because that's where Bolo is making place.
okay. So I think I'm going
You
to
could
move.
just go there and not eat or drink anything unless Bolo was cooking. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to move that over there. Okay, Tani, so you make your way back over to the Battered Mug, and that will allow me to jump back to the folks that I mistakenly started with. And now we'll continue with where things were. So Balin leads River and Inga and Stone down this long, first of all, into this dark antechamber, and then down a flight of steps to a wide underground room, which is furnished with sturdy wooden furniture and is lit by beautiful dwarven lamps. I don't know that you would have seen these before, River, but certainly, obviously, Inga, you have, that fill the room with light but emit no smoke. It's a particular mechanical contrivance of the dwarves that is very impressive. And he gestures about the room, and Balin says, "One of the few structures that remained intact from Dale of old. Only a few old dwarves know about it," he says with a wink. And so he gestures to several these wooden chairs, as I said, and assuming that you all take a seat, there's even actually a small little bed on the ground for Stone, like a kind of a cushion. It's it's dwarven make. It's not the most plush thing you've ever seen, but it's definitely functional. So Stone
His name is Stone.
Stone can lie down, stretch out there, I would assume. And so Balin passes around flagons of ale to all of you, assuming that you would like some.
Aye.
And this is good ale, by the way. Let me tell you, this is not that watered down swill that passes for alcohol in the battered mug. I mean, this is legit. Like no joke. It's a beer that eats like a meal. You know what I mean? And so
Liquid bread.
that's exactly right. So as you're drinking this, Balin gets down to business, and he says, "I have a confession to make. I didn't tell you everything last time we met, but I wasn't sure I could trust you. It was no mere misfortune that befell my friends and me. It seems clear the ruffians didn't attack us to rob us, but were seeking us out with another purpose. Seeking me out, most likely. This is why I resolved to retreat from public appearances for the time being. If someone wants me dead, then I'm safer if they think it so. It's an interesting experience not being alive, actually." And he winks again and says, "I wasn't going to Esgaroth on an ordinary business trip. I was investigating a rumor concerning a secret meeting of conspirators that I was told occurred on the road from Dale to Laketown. So I was surprised when the thugs attacked us. Since I confided my plans to only a few close friends within the Lonely Mountain, I fear I have been betrayed." And he kind of pauses for a moment, and you can see that his face is sort of drawn down despite his earlier winks and a couple of jokes. He clearly looks deeply troubled by this, and as he strokes his white beard, he says, "Pretending to be dead will give me time to discover who is behind this, and it may indeed make them bolder and draw them from the shadows, but it severely limits my operations, as you can imagine. It's hard to find out things when you're supposed to be dead. In Erebor, I have a number of agents I can trust, but here in Dale, I still haven't found someone up to the task, especially with the way things are at the moment, distrust between the dwarves and men. If you're willing to lend your eyes and ears to me for a while, there are a number of leads I wish to follow, and I could use your help." And he sort of pauses and looks at you.
I mean, absolutely, of course. What do you need?
And he sort of glances over at you, River, as if ascertaining your readiness.
River feels very kind of deferring to Inga in this situation where she is there as support essentially, so she just kind of nods vigorously as well and and lets Inga go on.
All right. So he. Okay, wait, it's too much. I keep having to dial back. It's so bright in here that I keep being like, I'm overshining. Okay.
I will say, actually, no. One other thing that she'll say is,
Sure.
Of course, we will want to speak to the other members of our party about this, though.
And he says,
imagine they'd have any objection, but we are a group and we do decide these things together.
"I understand. I've had some experience working with groups before myself." And he kind of winks again. And he says, "Well, here it is. I'll lay it out before you, and we'll see what you're able to do. Months ago, I'd started to feel worried about this tension I talked about. This tension rising in Dale between the Bardings and the dwarves of Erebor. It was small at first, just little quarrels, diplomatic nothings between envoys and counselors and diplomats. But it got worse, to the point that in recent times every meeting of the King's Council had an endless list of litigations to address, arguments flaring up between dwarven craftsmen and Dale merchants and lords. Some of them in Erebor actually started to openly speak against the ungrateful and scornful folk of Dale. I still thought this was minor nothings. I had other things I was concerned about. Simply two neighboring young kingdoms learning to live next to each other. But several weeks ago, that changed." And he looks at you, Inga, and he says, You ever heard of a dwarf named Gundry?
Have I?
Probably not. But he does say he's a veteran of the Battle of Five Armies, and he belongs to the Stone Guard of Erebor. Now that you know without having to do a check.
Yeah.
The Stone Guard of Erebor is essentially the elite guards of the dwarves of the Lonely Mountain. They are generally run by one or two of the original company of Thorin, and they were all at least begun by that group. And Dane relies on them heavily because they are essentially the... If there is such a thing as a living kind of wall, a member of the Stone Guard would represent that. They are famous for being a group that never falls in combat, even to forces twice or three times their number. And so the Stone Guard, being a member of the Stone Guard, is the elite of the elite when it comes to dwarven warriors. And so he says, well, Gundry got deep into his cups one night, and many heard, and I confirmed it from those I trust, that he said the time was coming when matters would be set right between hills and mountain. And they say, he said, the greedy, mannish rabble will get theirs. Well, one of them came and told me what he had said. I decided I would question him, but he failed to show up when summoned. He was found dead, drowned in a fermenting keg in Stangard, the very midst of Erebor. Well, at this, I knew things had gone much too far. I started a full-fledged investigation, but I have been grasping at shadows, thwarted at multiple turns. I was on the river the other night because one of my agents intercepted a message that made me believe a payment was due to be passed between a dwarf and other conspirators. But I now think that my quarry was onto me, and this message was a trap, and I fell for it. Literally, one might say, and he kind of rubs his knee as if kind of like rubbing his bruised knee from when he took his fall. And he says, without you, I might still have been down in that ravine, or worse. But fortunately, you were there, and I did not die either then or now. And so now, we are left with what we see. Have you heard anything about this problem of which I speak, the rising between the men and the dwarves?
Yes, we witnessed a conflict just before coming here, actually, between your friend Thrun and two other men, two other dwarves. She doesn't make that mistake. I do.
Get out! No, I'm just kidding.
Our friend Bolo was smoothing things over, I believe.
And he nods and he says, well, Thrun is a little effusive for some dwarves, but he's a good one and a fine toy maker.
How much do you trust the people who were with you, who you didn't see fall? Isn't there a possibility that we didn't find their bodies because they had been of a party with your attackers?
And he nods slowly and he says, if you asked me that question 2 days ago, I would have rebuked you for your foolishness. I would have trusted them with my life. Now, and he shrugs and suddenly looks very tired and says, who can say? Perhaps everyone that I thought I could believe in, I no longer can. Except perhaps those of my own kin whom I traveled with. Even dwarves cannot be trusted, it seems, if I can tell a few of them of what I am doing in the Lonely Mountain, and find myself attacked and within risk of my life, simply a half-hour or less journey from Dale. Perhaps I can trust no one then.
What does Inge specifically know about like a conflict between the Lonely Mountain Dwarfs and the Hill dwarves.
So the lonely.
The Lonely Mountain dwarves and the Iron Hill dwarves. Like what was going on, right?
No,
the
this is
Dale
between
dwarves.
the specifically the men of Dale and
Oh.
the dwarves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Misunderstood.
you know that, I mean, one thing you know is that the Iron Hills and the Erebor dwarves are both have had increasing tensions with the men of Dale, although the Iron Hill dwarves seem to also have some frustrations to the dwarves of Erebor because they think the dwarves of Erebor are too friendly with humans. And in fact, Inga, you also know, you have heard a couple of whispers here and there that even some of the so-called heroes of Dale are a little too friendly with each other, so that it's possible that you yourself have played a role, some say, in being too friendly with, those unmentionables like the river, or, even Bjornings like Tawny and stuff. Like, I mean, dwarves for the dwarves. So you have heard rumors of this, although, again, very faint ones, and no one, of course, has dared say it to your face because it would have been rearranged for them, no doubt. But you have heard rumors of this. The biggest rumors, though, is the fact, and it's similar to what you heard from the craftsmen, you may remember in our last session, that were saying that basically they have this fear that they are losing what makes them dwarven. Specifically, they're losing their ability to smith, and that it's because they've been, catering to the tastes of humans who, men are weak, right? I mean, men don't have the same knowledge that dwarves do, and these kinds of tensions are things that seem to be growing somewhat of late. So yes, again, none of it really said to you directly because of your companions and who you are, but yeah.
Did Inge hear anything from the people she has been working with in Brokenstone the past year?
Definitely there is a sense of, yes, there is definitely a sense of concern with those dwarves, although Brokenstone seems to be more concerned about the way their own people treat them or don't treat them, like the lords and ladies of Dale. But yes, there have definitely been some mutterings. And in fact, you even heard one person that was working with you say, probably well-meaning, I didn't realize that dwarves were all could be such good people. And, that sort of thing, working side by side with you. Clearly, they didn't mean it as offensive as it came out, but that was.
Yeah, like, I don't think Inge really even, like, responds to stuff like that. Because, she was, like, basically raised among humans, and it's like, hears that all the fucking time, probably.
Yeah.
So
Right,
it's like,
right.
Okay.
And so he sort of pauses, and then he says, "What I would like you to do is to find out what you can and report back what you've learned in a few days. I'm willing to, in addition to all of the support you've already given, not that you need anything in terms of more status, you're already heroes here, but I might be able to do something else for you. Perhaps I could, in addition to speaking more to King Dane about other work. I have had, for example, word come to me of work you've been doing at one of your holdings, a place called Haven, I believe. I might be able to aid in the construction of that place. Perhaps I could send a few expert craftsmen, ones that maybe even you, Thane Inga, might not have access to, who have knowledge of some of the old ancient ways, to help. And I would also give you 5 gold pieces each to do this. Again, I don't mean to insult anyone with monetary reward, but in terms of status, in my eyes, there is little else you can do to raise yourself even higher. That is why I am coming to you. When you rescued me and I knew who you were, I also knew you were the only ones that could be trusted here. I have to believe in someone, and you seem the right type of people to trust and believe in."
As soon as Valen mentions Haven, River kind of like straightens somewhat, and sort of leans forward and says, "Any aid that you can render towards developing Haven would be tremendously welcome. But we would take this work on regardless. I just want you to know that. This is important. It is the same work that we have been trying to do, I think, in trying to make people understand each other better and make Haven specifically into a place where different people who come from different places and have different knowledge can share that together and build lives together without fearing each other. I think it is the same work, and we would do it for its own sake.
He nods slowly, and he kind of crosses his arms and leans back a bit in his chair and says, Dale's heroes were well chosen. I've heard your name before this, you must know, woodsman. The people of Roscabel have always been ones that I have admired, for they court danger without seeking to be destroyed by it. I knew some in the ancient days who would have appreciated some more of that kind of attitude. You've reflected it here. And I have a friend of a friend, you might say, who knows someone who speaks very highly of you. My knowledge was not of Radagast the Brown, but his friend Gandalf has spoken highly of you all as well. And that's worth something, even if that wizard was, on occasion, frustrating, but that is a tale for another time. He says, Then the question is where to look, I suppose. There are many places you could find, but I'm not sure where you'll want to search out and seek information. But wherever you go, I would appreciate anything you could gather. And when you've reported back to me about it, I will then be able to decide what course must be taken. And he says, Also, you should be aware of one thing. What we are doing here is entirely unofficial. Not even Bard knows of what I am doing here. The rumor of my death has spread quickly, and I imagine will continue to do so. So I must ask that, while of course you should tell your own immediate companions, you not tell anyone beyond that. I can trust, as I said, very few, and there would be many who would wish to have the chance to manipulate the heroes of Dale. Can I rely on you to be discreet?
Of course.
I have one question.
He nods.
Who do you think stands to benefit from Discord growing into a gaming entity? No, sorry. Sorry.
Well, Microsoft,
I'm so
perhaps,
sorry.
if they buy.
No, who do you think stands to benefit from sowing discord between men and dwarves?
He nods. He says, There you strike at the heart of it, River. It is precisely that which has occupied my thoughts. Well, there is something to be said for the idea that when something falls, there is a vacuum created, and something must come in to take its place. When Smaug fell, and the Battle of the Five Armies happened, there was a void left, and some, I think, decided that evil had been permanently conquered, but it is not so. Goblins still linger in Gundabad, and if it was their opportunity to see discord between the mortal races here, they could take advantage of that moment to swoop in. And there are other dragons besides Smaug, those perhaps even more cunning. You dealt with one of them, and I don't know whether other dragons may not see a chance to move in when there is a lack of unity. But I also am troubled. And he stands up, looking weary, and turns, and he walks back and looks around at some of the wood. And you can now see, as you're looking up, that the wood of this room is indeed very old, much older than a lot of Dale. I mentioned, of course, that much of Brokenstone, which Inga knows, having spent a lot of the last year trying to reassemble it, was built over, originally had been there, and then a lot of it fell apart and broke down when Smaug fell, and so they had to rebuild a lot of it. But like many great cities, Dale is built on top of itself, right? There are multiple layers, and this is clearly older than a lot of Dale, especially the sort of newer construction that you find in some of the merchant district and places like that. And so he's looking up, you see Balin looking up at some of the older exposed beams of this place, and he says, there was a darkness that existed even then in Mirkwood. We called him the Necromancer. Thorin's father, Thror, was lost to it. Thrain, sorry, not Thror. Thorin's father, Thrain, was lost to it. And there were others. I don't know what exactly I could say that would make sense, except that there has been a shadow that has grown on my mind. And I wonder if there are others that I am missing. Others that are waiting to emerge. And he turns and he says, goblins, orcs, and shadowy dragons, shadowy evils. There are many that I think would stand to benefit if the young kingdoms cannot learn to become a young alliance. It is the earliest friendships that are easiest to break.
We'll keep our eyes and ears open to any information we can get you. How should we communicate with you again?
I will be using this place as my base of operations, and I imagine that it is well known to you now, not simply because it is where you are, but because of the place you know best in Dale, Brokenstone, that is working to become, what shall we call it, mended stone under your tutelage, Inga. So
Well,
if you could... And he sort of smiles at you.
Well, still a lot of work to do, but thank you.
But
She
it's
she's
good
like
work.
really flustered, getting a compliment from Balin himself. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's been good work. I have seen it. Anyway, I will remain here, although there may be a few other of my agents in and out. And if need be, I can contact you. But if you must find me, I will be here, and I'll be waiting for what you have to report back. Don't take too long, though. Even death does not last for that long these days, or so it seems. And he sort of still is standing, kind of, the mug on the table, and he picks up the remainder of it and picks up the mug with a little bit of ale left and lifts it, and he says, to your success and to the future of Dale and Erebor. And assuming you all drink up.
yep.
Unity.
Okay. So now, and also, hi Nordwolf. I'm glad you think this is an awesome audiobook. All right, are you headed out?
Can you give us a quick rundown again of what we're exactly supposed to do, because that was a lot of information.
Yeah.
Sure. So basically, what he wants is for you to gather
Yeah.
information about what is going on between the dwarves and men, and specifically, what is the nature of this conspiracy that caused Balin to be attacked, and that is there something imminent? Is someone planning an attack on Dale or Erebor or that sort of thing? So he's asking you to kind of track down what exactly is happening. And also, if you can find any specifics about the ambush against Balin, that would be helpful also, since they're probably related. So, figuring out who those ruffians are might be a good start.
Yes, I think that once they take their leave and wander away from the area, I think River is going to want to talk to Vig and ask if he has heard any sorts of things, work that underworld contact, essentially.
Okay.
And talk to him. But also, we may want to reconvene with Tawny first and re-meet up and get the party not separated. I did want to say just quickly that I love the idea of Brokenstone slowly developing a new name, and I like the idea of it maybe being something like the Mendings or something.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, please don't use Mending Stone, which he just came up with, and that's terrible. But something like that.
The Mendings are. I mean, I think it'd be hilarious if they called it Holestone again. Brokenstone and Holestone. But because the it can go whole with a W to whole without it to Holy Stone or something like that. Holy Stone. But no, I like the idea of Mendings just because there are lots of places in the UK, and I think even parts of Northern Europe that have a street in them called the Shambles, because that's like an archaic name for a place where open air butchery happened. So I think it's supposed to come from like an Anglo-Saxon shambles or something like that. But yeah, the Shambles. In York. There's a place called the Shambles, and stuff. So I like the idea that like the nouns can be a thing in this case. The Mending, I think, could be cool, especially because it also has connections to needle and thread and sewing and stuff.
Yeah. I like it. Wow, check it out. There's a writer making up those ideas, folks. It's some good stuff. I have to say, by the way, it reminds me very quickly, this is directly related to what we're doing on here. There is a documentary that was done, I don't think it was BBC, but it was narrated by Judi Dench back in the mid-90s about Professor Tolkien, and talked about his life and that sort of thing, and also talked about his love of language. But one of the things that gets talked about is his imaginative capacity, not just for language, which everybody knows about, but for how a lot of the stuff just works, even though he literally is just making it up, so that Hobbit sounds like a very English word and is not a word. Like, he just made it up, but it sounds, you're like, oh yes, obviously that's been part of the language for 1,000 years. And like, that's his sort of construction of it. Yes, Terry, what?
There's a cookie brand in Germany called Hobbit.
Really?
Is there really? That's funny.
It's like our version of Hobnobs.
That's funny. I'm pretty confident that's not where he got it from, though.
No. I'm assuming that. Well, actually, I'm going to find out now. But like,
he named it after a cookie. No, but anyway, yeah. So yeah, that was anyway. I thought it was really fascinating, and it's on YouTube, so you can actually find it. And if you're a Tolkien geek, I don't know why anyone would. I mean, what did he ever do? But anyway, so it was amazing to kind of get a sense of just how far his imagination extended. All right, so anyway, back to what we were doing. So,
Yes.
All right, so you're going to the Battered Monk's meetup. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Inge would like to ask one more thing of
Sure.
Marlene. So who knows that you are actually still alive?
And he says, besides you, no one yet. Although it's possible that, I have one agent whose name I'd rather keep quiet, who knows. That's not out of mistrust of you. It's mostly out of a mistrust of others who might find out from either you or this other agent. But believe me, this person I rely on and trust as much as I do you, and that is considerable.
So,
Other than this
Thrun-
person and you, no one else knows.
Not even
Right.
Thrun, who directed us here?
Thrun knew only that there was something going on elsewhere, but Thrun still believes, I think, that I am dead, although Thrun is very clever, and it is possible that he has guessed more than I originally told him. In any case, and he sort of stops and thinks about it, You might even go talk to Thrun, actually. That is one possibility I had not considered. Thrun may have more information for you. He is, well connected. And he nods.
My only concern with there being an agent of yours who we don't know is the possibility that you suggested that we might be targets for manipulation where you are concerned. If you can give us signs by which to recognize this person without revealing their identity, just some token of knowledge, just to make sure that we would not be approached by false parties, that would be a help.
And he says, there, I think you speak wisdom. And he sort of contemplates for a bit about it, and he sort of considers the options, and he says, well, I will say simply that he is also a dwarf, and that he has long connections to me. That is to say, I have traveled with him in the past, and he has had a certain name for himself made as a result of these travels. I suspect when and if you meet him, you would know of whom I speak.
Very well.
I think I have an idea, actually, of what we can do. What if we pretend to start an investigation on what happened to you, Lord Balin, and through that can question people, what they know and what they might know about your whereabouts.
He says, that seems like a possibly good course, Inga, but there is a concern. If you were to start this official investigation, it also means that anyone who might otherwise come out of the woodwork would be brought to ground. I, for example, could have started an investigation myself about who tried to kill me, but doing so would have driven them away. By being dead, I hope those shadows can emerge from the light. If they know that you, the heroes of Dale, are now engaged in what I had planned to do, those shadows may vanish again, and I would hate to see us miss opportunities. You cast a rather bright light within this town yourselves, you know. You must be aware of that. If you have an investigation, those who don't wish to be spoken to could easily drift away.
True.
I think we need to investigate this quietly and ourselves, Inga. I think.
All right.
Well, we'll be in touch, and we'll go and speak to our companions and discuss how best to proceed. But thank you for trusting us with this.
Thank you for being willing to help an old dwarf with a finding light to add to the shadow. And he sort of bows, bows respectfully. And assuming that is all, then you can make your way out. He does, just before Stone leaves, he goes over and pets him, and then he gives him something which Stone, gobbles up completely. And then Balin quietly goes over to you and he says, not that he needs it, but, well, if you ever really want to reward him. And he passes you what looks essentially like a dog biscuit, but he says, this was actually made in some of the same forges that are used for the making of weapons. It was baked in an oven that is used in that same fire. And, although some would disagree, I am told that it is among the most delicious for the creatures of the Lonely Mountain. And he seems to like it. And indeed, Stone is like still licking his lips, So he
Tastes
says,
like weapons.
for special occasions, he says.
Aw.
And
Like now he doesn't have an iron deficit anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. So
Like your
Stone no
cousin,
longer anemic,
Joseph
and
Dale.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you depart, and you're making your way. I think everyone said to the Battered Mug, if I'm not mistaken.
Making our way downtown.
Downtown.
Feeding for it.
Faces past, and I'm homebound. All right. Oh, the most
That's amazing.
Mimi.
What we're doing. Yes, we are making our way downtown, walking fast. Faces past, and we're battered
Monetized,
mug
yes.
bound.
It's
Oh,
kind of
that.
amazing that Vanessa Carlton wasn't even better known, given how utterly meme-worthy that particular song is. Just
And how often it gets used on Critical Role. So yes.
that's
Oh,
yes.
really?
Oh, anytime Matt says, or anybody on the cast says, so we make our way, and any number of them go down, and it just and they've started getting to it. We need to stop that, kind of thing. 'Cause it's just been going on.
90s kids remember.
Mm-hmm. 1,000 Leagues.
You are
Hey,
all
what's
like
up?
90s kids like you too. And it's like, aren't you like... I think I'm the only true 90s kids in this joint.
My husband is always telling me that I don't remember the 80s because I was born in 1984, but towards the end of it. So, I don't know. My childhood was the 90s.
Those of us from the 70s are like,
I can't remember if I feel like I dreamt this, but I think I dreamt it after seeing it on the internet or whatever. But like, the distance between us and the 90s is the same as the distance between the 90s and the 60s. So like people like now who talk about the 90s as like people in the 90s who talked about the 60s, and that's disturbing.
It came up the other day where I was talking about something and someone was just like, and I was like, 30, 40, and they're like, that would be 40 years. Or I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm 48. Yeah, that's right. Whew. Time does get on. So let us not fast forward, but move us over to the Battered Mug. When you arrive in the Battered Mug, and I would say probably that Tawny, you get there just a minute or two, not too long, but just a minute or two before the River and Inga and Stone arrive. When you first get into the place, you can see that there is a line out the door.
Oh, no,
And it might remind you a little bit of Pasha, but no, there's a line out the door. I was thinking it would. No, but there's a line out the door. It's not a super long line, but the fact that there's any line outside of the Battered Mug is something. And you hear inside a fearful banging of pots and pans and metal, smashing sounds. When you walk in, you see that there are a couple of new people that you do not recognize holding trays and moving back and forth among the tables as people are asking for, demanding for various things to be given to them. The process is they're sort of moving around, they're gathering all this information together, and they're gathering food that they're bringing to various tables. And you can see that Bolo has been basically apparently in the kitchen, or so you suspect, because people are coming out, and it smells. Now, the last time, you may remember, when you walked near the kitchen, the smell was not so hot.
I have this.
Yeah, exactly. But now, this is a different scenario now. I mean, the place actually smells really good. You smell the delightful smell of cooking of eggs. There seems to be fresh bread that is cooking back there as well. And you can just get this sense that everything seems a lot just fresher. And the people who, of course, are still a lot of the same clientele there are now joined by a lot of people dressed in much more rich finery than you would expect for people that had typically lived in Brokenstone. And a couple of them, one of them, as you sort of walk in, is complaining to one person at the door and is saying, "I don't think you understand. I have asked to be seated here because I have heard that this is among the best food to be found in Dale." And the person at the door says, "No, I understood you, Grace. The problem is there's 15 people ahead of you. Well, yes, but you see, my good man, perhaps there's some error. I imagine that those people could be accommodated, but have heard rumors of the delightful smells. Of the delightful food here. I can tell by the smell myself, and surely there's something that can be done. He says, "Aye, there is, your grace. The something that can be done is you can wait in this line until your time comes." And there's some other people chuckling, and and they kind of elbow each other, and he says, "Well, I must say that I find this level of service deplorable." And he says, "I don't know what you mean. We don't have anyone here working under the name plorable, do we, lads? No, no at all. That's despicable. So anyway, you hear this argument.
River will totally walk up and say, you know, the true secret to enjoying the food of the establishment known worldwide as the battered mug is it's more delicious if you've waited for it.
Now listen, I don't intend to, my dear." And then he turns and sees who's talking, and he's like, yes, well, I'm sure I was not aware that and you see the people like behind and out, like in front of him in line, because obviously he's been talking for a while, are just sort of staring at him. He's like, "Yes, well, as I always say, patience is a virtue. It's a pleasure to see you."
It might even be more rewarding to make what is the word? I remember someone saying it in one of the more uptown establishments. A reservation. Is that something? And she kind of looks to the guy working the door and says, "Do you take reservations now?"
Well, not as such, miss.
Oh, that's because you're so booked up. I understand. You probably,
yes.
It might be a month or even 2 months before you have an opening.
So some of the other people in line look. A couple of them look sort of confused, and there are a couple who also smile and are sort of like. And the one in the finery is. "Perhaps I'll see what I can do to gather more information before returning next time. I am most grateful to you for your insight." Oh,
Always a pleasure. We
hero
live to help
Dale.
the good people of Dale.
And he sort of bows and scrapes with the smile of, "I've just eaten several sour lemons," and exits the line and heads off the other way. And when he's just about out of earshot, one of them says, "Oi, you might want to get the bottom of your robe clean from the mud." What is that? And they all sort of elbow each other. And then one claps you on the back, Inga, and then says, and is about to do the same to you, River. Then one's like, "Oh, you know what you're doing. You know who those are." And and the one who clapped you on the back, Inga, was about to do the same to you, River's like, "I'm sorry, sorry, miss, ma'am, miss, that lord, lady, Thane."
Inge is like also laughing her ass off, of course, and then like slaps him back, but like way fucking harder than he did.
What? And the others are just like, "Oh, yeah, that's what," and they're all sort of like, so they're smiling and laughing and in very good spirits as all of you enter. And at this point, I would say, Tani, you who have been standing watching this from the inside of the inn, now see the River and Inga and Stone entering. And Bolo seems to be busy at work in the kitchen in the back.
River as they're heading in just kind of like says to the is it like who's the one talking to the
A guard, like a bouncer, basically.
A bouncer, yeah.
Yeah, I guess he's a maitre d', so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't.
She
I
just
believe
kind of says,
it's in his case it's pronounced maitre de.
Maitre d'.
"Matered."
Yeah, maitre.
I am
But,
not following.
It's okay.
Oh man.
So she just as she's going in, she says, I'm sorry. I know you clearly had that and were doing your job. I just found him very annoying. I hope that's all right."
Oh, I appreciate it, miss. Oh, he's been there talking 20 minutes back and forth, telling me I didn't understand who he was. And I didn't care who he was. I'm just supposed to keep him in line. I appreciate it, miss. Of course, you can go right on through. Anyone have a problem with that? And the guy and the people in front are like, I don't have a problem with that. It's fine."
We're just going to our rooms.
Yeah.
We won't skip line. That.
So you go in and you see Intani is there.
Yeah. There are rooms above the battered mug, right? Like.
Yes. I mean, rooms is a little generous. There are areas that people could theoretically sleep, although they're much better than they used to be. And in fact, the innkeeper has been making noises about the possibility of expanding, although he's not 100% sure if he wants to do that. But yes, and you always have a place because Bolo has been given his own room, which is even larger than the innkeeper's, because what keeps this tavern moving is definitely, it's Bolo and Flankseer, right? Like, so, and the work that you have all collectively put into Brokenstone.
Well, I would imagine that as part of like the rebuilding thing that like Inger and her like posse
Yeah.
have like built like something like workers barracks or something.
Oh, sure,
where
sure.
She would like usually stay.
Yeah.
Yep, sure.
Yeah, just like basically, I'm operating on the assumption that they have a place that is private that they can chat in.
Yes, I would say so. Especially because the noise down below is like pretty loud, so the chances of anyone hearing you would be pretty slim when you're up in a room above them. So yes, I think that's fine.
So basically, as soon as Bolo can take like a 10-minute break or something, so River will share with both Tawny and Bolo what has happened. This is very secret, keeping balance secret that way, and
it's a good thing we're in this room, because as soon as you tell him that, Tawny's like, "What? I just started an investigation."
Yes, no, but that actually is good. If you're actually investigating his death, then that lends some cover to what we're actually doing. Let it be known that he is in fact gone. Let it be known that, and if for that matter, conclusive evidence is found of that, then that could even be better.
So you went and saw him.
Yeah.
So when he was killed, how did he get from where he was killed to where he is now? And what happened to his body?
I presume he put out a rumor that he had been killed. We didn't actually ask about those details. Perhaps we should have. Maybe we can do that next time we see him. But I mean, I suspect that whatever it was that he wanted known will probably be what your investigation turns up. Hopefully.
So, this investigation into his death, his assassination, let's be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is it his? No, because it is his assassination. He did make it clear that he was killed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a difference between those two. Was he killed, or was it an assassination? Anyway,
we can leave that ambiguous for now. I
So we'll say
presume
killed.
that the parties who wanted him dead will, I don't know whether they know that their own people did not succeed in killing him. But operating publicly under the assumption that he is dead one way or another, hopefully will allow those shadows he spoke of to emerge for us to catch.
So, we need this investigation to go forward, but not necessarily conducted by us because we are too well known.
Mm-hmm.
We are presuming at this point, I assume we're presuming, whatever it is. I need to make sure that those who are doing the investigation do not necessarily make a connection or try to make a connection between the men in the boat and whoever killed Balian here.
Also, I just want to jump in very quickly.
No.
I'm going to. The question was not the. Balin does not say it wants you to be doing the investigation. Just to be clear, the idea was just that not being like I'm investigating, like putting it out publicly, which is one way to do it. But doing that would have those effects that Balin talked about. So just to be clear, you don't have to get agents unless you want to, I guess, but you don't have to get agents to do your own jobs.
No,
in case
it's more
you were
a matter
curious
of what Tawny was asking for from Bard was specifically investigating Balin's quote unquote death.
Motorcycle.
Right.
But was that supposed to be secretive, or was that supposed to be kind of just proceeding?
It was a twofold thing. One was to let him know about the boat, which we were the only ones that saw it,
Right.
and the hypothetical connection to us immediately thereafter finding Balin. And then the fact that, hey, we've heard that Balin's dead. What the hell? And then I did mention that I thought it could be these guys. And I mentioned that we suspected that his two escorts could have been in the bottom of the boat, beneath the line of sight.
Right. I actually don't think that it needs to be turned away from that. I mean, if like the city guards, for instance, wanted to investigate that by going outside of the city and looking at where we told them the boat was and stuff, I think that's all above board and distracts from the fact that we are actually pursuing our own information gathering stuff here in Dale.
Right. I think what Tawny's trying to, specifically referencing the difference between being killed and an assassination, is that if these guys attack him and try to kill him on the road and then fail and then try again when they get to Dale, that is much more of an assassination. That's not just he was killed.
Right.
These people are out for him,
Yeah.
not just somebody.
Right.
So if he was killed, like it just happened, wrong place, wrong time kind of a thing, that's a very different investigation than there was somebody after him in particular.
Right. So I don't think we need to kind of massage that information, basically. I think that if the situation is I think actually letting that proceed organically with our gaze on it is good, because whether the narrative about it becomes assassination or becomes accidental death or whatever probably is going to serve the interests of someone, and we can keep an eye on what that is and stuff. So essentially, if there is an investigation that is proceeding apace based on the information that you gave Bard, that if we can just keep an eye on that, while doing our own thing, then that's one of the data sets that we will want to draw on, maybe.
Because if the bodies were in the boat, then either that boat presumably came in, a lot of presumption in this, came here and had two bodies in it and they had to be smuggled out, or those bodies were dumped en route in a deeper part of the lake.
So we saw the boat, it was going, it had already left Dale. It wasn't on its way to Dale.
Right. It's heading south.
So yeah, exactly. So it was heading, so we were on our way
from
to
Dale to Lake Town.
Yeah. And the boat was passing us heading further south. So they had already done whatever they were doing in Dale, if they were there, and were then leaving that scene. And which again can be even better for the investigation if we want it to be apart from us. If we can get people tracking that or looking into the keys, as Bard was telling you to do, then I think that's definitely a good thing. We have two leads now, essentially. We have the keys, where we should go to investigate, and we have Thrun, who Balin suggested we talk to more. So I think that we want to do both of those things. Inga, do you want to talk to Thrun?
Yes, I can do that, though. I was hoping to maybe talk to some of my workers first, what they might have heard. When we came here, did I see any of them at the, like, among the guests of the
toy
establishment?
At the Battered Mug, you did not. But they're, I mean, they do obviously enjoy taking time off, but you also, you know, within reason, you're good to them. But they work hard, you know, and they like to do a lot of extra stuff. So.
Well, I figured they would go here for lunch and stuff.
Yeah.
Bolo's there, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a big drop off between Bolo and the rest of the. You want that chef, you know.
You want that chef. So I was just thinking, if we do end up splitting up to get information again, I'd like to go to the keys with you, Tommy, potentially.
Talk to Halward about it. Yeah.
And then if essentially if this is going to be about tension between dwarves and men, it might make more sense for Inga to speak to the dwarves and for us to speak to the men. And Bolo, meanwhile, can hold down the fort here and keep an ear out for anything that he hears while working in the establishment.
Is that okay with you, Bo? When you come.
And so, and Bolo is like, "Oh, I think that would be an excellent." And you hear a
My eggs!
Bolo! Bolo, there's 5 people who want helmets. They can't take. We've run out of eggs. I don't know if we. And Bolo kind of gives you this terrified,
What do you do? Lay them?
this sort of like this kind of like, and kind of points at the door vaguely, like
okay,
you know.
Okay, just keep your ears open.
Okay. And when you come out, there's just a, and then the door as it shuts, like kind of, you know, shuts out the sound again as he hurries downstairs. Okay, so as I understand it, the party is going to have Bolo hold down the fort at the Battered Mug, whilst Inga talks to her workers and then to Thrun, and while Tani and the River go to the keys. Does that sound right?
Important to split the party as much as possible.
Yes, no, absolutely. There, I think it came up. I think during our D&D, our Infinity Beyond stuff. Someone was like, "Oh yeah, you know about splitting the party." I'm like, "Let me tell you about a group that does split the party, like it's their job." And I talked about. I mean, it always makes sense to do it, but
It's not our fault. It's the game.
It's the game's fault.
thing.
See.
Also, we don't do it in dungeons and stuff, okay? That's a difference.
Well,
All right, you go that way to do some
Get, like,
exploration.
not like
I'm
in,
gonna
like,
go
these
this
50
way.
That's not
years.
true. That's not true. When Amal joined the game, we were pretty well split up in that.
I'd like to remind everyone about a certain jail cell that a certain dwarf spent some time in
That
during our
was
last.
not
That
her
was
fault.
not my fault.
That
That was an
not
NPC's
funny.
fault.
That's
Sorry.
nonsense. I hate this scabbard.
And I imagine that Inga still has some lingering anger over that whole thing and has probably laid claim to that entire hideout for her and her workers.
Hey.
Oh, probably, yeah. Actually, she might have done that. Like turned that warehouse into like workers' barracks.
That wretched hive of scum and villainy. That's right.
Well,
That's true. That's actually true, Triff. The Shadow Crew does split up the party quite a bit. Yeah, it's always so far it hasn't killed us. It's always a great idea till it isn't. But anyway, no. In this particular case, it makes total sense, especially since they're splitting it up to these investigations. So, all right. So we're going to begin with Inga, but just before I do that, I do want to reset here and welcome everybody to day 17 of Adventures in Middle-earth Erebor Adventures. You are the session that we are calling of Hammers and Anvils. You're watching the amazing crew continuing to regale you with awesome play and storytelling, and that of course is Trendane Sparks, and player not available but normally is Brad Bollier, and Terry Toons and Amal Elmatar, who are here with you as we are twice a month here doing this awesome
yawning
campaign.
Charlie Tunes. It's important to
the yawning territory.
Yawning, yeah.
Yeah, it's the yawning territory, not the yawning portal.
The
Right.
yawning portal.
Sorry.
This is because Terry was relaxing by taking a bath, and so you just
With
no
a
one to blame
toaster.
but herself. I mean, like, so this is, that's all. That's what's going on, and now she's going to be front and center because we're going to
Oh,
talk about
God.
Inga.
I've been
as we
having
move
some
here.
major concentration issues today, so let's
This'll be
try
perfect
this.
then.
All right, let's see how this happens. Okay, so as you know, to see your workers, you have a special dwarven lock that requires you to solve 5 mathematical puzzles. I'm just kidding.
Well, I
that's
do have
not
a locking and unlocking spell, so
yeah, like I could
let's
just do
go.
that. That's true. No, so you go back to I guess the barracks probably, right? Is where you would go. The one that you said you made for the workers barracks. Inga, is that where
Yeah.
you'd go to find them? And there are a number of them that are either milling about or are leaving with tools and coming back. One of the things that you've been proudest of is that you've set this up so that there are always dwarves at work somewhere. In fact, Broken Stone has somewhat gotten the noun of loud stone at times because you can always hear like doof, 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 like hammering of hammer on metal or hammer on stone as different things are being assembled and built. And so when you come in, there are a few dwarves that are there, and they of course immediately nod and tip their cap to you respectfully, and Thaininga, what may we do for you?
I was just hoping to find out how everybody here is doing after those horrible things that happened. You must have heard, right?
And we heard. It's a terrible thing that happened to Lord Balin. I never would have thought it was possible. I don't know whether it means... Well, what does it mean? Could any of us be in danger? I heard they don't like dwarves here much, or at least some people don't. Is that true?
I honestly don't know what to make of it myself. I know that you are my employees and everything, but sometimes like this really hit hard, these news. And I think it would be good for all of us if we all just maybe talked a little, made sure everybody's okay. Be there for each other.
And they nod. They look as they always do with you, both, respectful. You ended up getting a lot of these are young dwarves who are ones that were sort of, for 2 reasons. When you first tried to gather people together, there were some of the sort of more, some of the older dwarves were a little hesitant to work in Dale, and the younger dwarves were more eager, both because they wanted the work, but also because they wanted to make a name for themselves. And so that means that you've often felt, Inga, even though it's not like you're some ancient dwarf compared to them, but you've often felt a little bit like they're always looking to you to be like, is this okay? Type of thing, because they're not only younger, but of course they are, Dale is a place that they know of very well, but it's not their home. And so they're always a little bit unsure about how things are. So you can see them all kind of looking at you, waiting for you to say the things that you can say that will make them feel more comfortable, that everything will be okay. But they do look a little nervous.
So I'd like to imagine that, since they started working here, that she probably also took on a few human workers who've been staying here with them in the barracks and stuff.
I would say a
because,
couple of
I'm assuming there's a bunch of
yeah.
people who've been homeless for a while and just wanted work, and she was like, yeah, okay, you work,
absolutely.
you can stay here.
Although it's still more dwarves than humans, but yes.
Yeah, of course.
And you don't have any humans here at the moment. They're like only about 3 or 4 dwarves here. There's 3 or 4 workers, and they all happen to be dwarves that are here at the moment.
Okay, then I guess what Inga would do would call everybody together.
Okay.
For a meeting, so to speak, like everybody who's here anyway.
Okay.
Like everybody else, just tell the others once you see them.
Okay.
And tell
a few more
them...
trickle in over time, over the next few minutes, and they come up and join you.
So, and then she gives a speech about sticking together and making really sure if they like hear of any conflict or anything to report back to her, like especially if there's like any conflict, like anything about conflict between like between humans and dwarves and stuff like that, you know, like that she wants to hear about that so that she can make sure that that goes away and stuff like that.
So, one dwarf who is known as being kind of not a contrarian, that isn't quite the right word, but is always a little bit like
Bit of a downer.
yeah, well, I think or a little rebellious. I think one of the reasons you took him on is that he reminded you slightly of yourself, perhaps, Inga, at a certain point. And so he raises his hand sort of tentatively after everyone is kind of nodding. And his name, by the way, is Stubbis. And he raises his hand. And if I may.
Yes, of course, Stubbis, go.
And he says, well, I mean, you say to let you know if there's a problem with the humans. But truthfully, I mean, there's been a problem for a while. There's the people who work with us, they're all right, but a lot of the other ones here, they don't seem to care much about the dwarves. I see the work that we're doing and the places we're building for them, and, well, it's not like we've gotten a lot of thanks from them. I mean, from the ones we work with, yeah, but a lot of the others just sort of look at us and walk by when we're doing our work. So, I mean, when you say you want us to let you know if there's a conflict, there's always been kind of one. Miss. He throws in miss as kind of like that, oh yeah, miss, thing that he has to throw in. It should be said, by the way, before you answer, that Stubbis is one of your best workers by a good margin. He complains and then sits down and does like 1.5 times the work of any other dwarf.
Oh god. When I said I had concentration issues today, I meant it. Oh god, can you give me the last part again, please?
Sure. Thank
you.
Which part? The part
the
about
last thing he said.
Oh, the last thing that he said or that I said?
Yeah, that he said.
Okay. He said, when you say that you want us to let you know if there's been any conflict, I mean, you mean more conflict? Because there's already issues between dwarves and men. Begging your pardon, miss.
Well, when I started this project with all of you and hired you, I did let you know that this might turn out to be a thankless job. We are not working for rich people here. We are working for the poor of this town. And there's not a lot to expect in return. We do this because it is a job that needs to be done. And we can do it, so we do it. And when I say conflict, I mean concrete stuff. I know things are difficult, and I can't promise you that that all of you will get the thanks you deserve. But the thing is, with every house we repair and build from scratch, we bring a little bit of a better opinion for us in this place. So yeah.
And he nods and he says slowly, and he's all right, and he kind of sits down, and the others sort of all look at each other, and then one of them stands up, holding his hood, which he kind of nervously passes back and forth from hand to hand, and he says, Miss, when we find out about this, we should only tell you, right? We shouldn't tell anyone else?
Yes, preferably. Or anyone that, like, should I not be available, one of my companions. That is also fine.
And Stubbis says, even the human ones, miss?
Yes, even the human ones.
There's only one human one. I mean,
No, two. Bionics are humans.
are they? I thought they were slightly different. Never mind.
They're like tall humans.
To be clear, clearly Stubbis the dwarf would not distinguish.
That's obvious. Yes, exactly. Correct.
Dwarves, non-dwarves. You know,
That's
like
true. That's true. That's true.
anyway.
Well, I guess that hobbits might have a bit of a
Yeah,
higher
yeah, yeah.
opinion
I mean,
after.
Bolo
like,
maybe
it
a
was
little bit different. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, So he so Stubbis nods, and then everyone seems more or less on board. It sounds like.
Also, I want you to know, please, if anybody tries to pick a fight with you, avoid it at any cost. Like, don't need to pour any further oil into the fire. I
And
need you all to be at your best behaviors.
and they all sort of nod. They look vaguely like a little uncertain about how to. I mean, because they're sort of like a little grumbling about like, well, if someone comes up to me, you know, type of thing. But they all that dies down pretty quickly, and then the one other person sort of from his seat, who's one of the youngest dwarves and one of the ones who's newest to join here, says, I just want to say that I think Thane Inga's got our best interest at heart, and well, a real dwarf doesn't care what hits them. They just keep working hard. Yeah. And they
He's
kind
even
of
worse at speeches
he
than
kind
I
of
am.
sits down. Yeah, like he looks like utterly like this is clearly the most words he's strung together at once in a long time. Like, and he kind of sits back down, and everyone sort of like looks and then kind of nods and a couple shrug, you know, and they seem to be on board with you, Inga.
Well, very good. And she would probably have brought some snacks from the Broken Stone, right? Can we retcon that? Like
Sure.
some like freshly baked cakes or something.
Sure.
And it's like, and to make today suck a little less, I brought you all something. And like gets out this tray of like blueberry tarts or something.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I like
on the
that the
table.
big speech part is may every day suck a little less.
No. Made today.
No,
suck
I
a
know.
little
But
less.
it's just like, remember, today, may it suck a little less. I just had this image of you doing herald, of like putting it on a flag, or just being like, you know,
That's my motto. Make
in
today suck
Latin,
a little less.
make today suck a little less.
The DM from our other group, he's actually like he speaks Latin, so I can ask
Oh,
him to
jeez.
translate that for me.
I love the idea that there's like a dwarven blessing is may each of your days suck a little less than the one before.
Yeah, it's like,
You know, it's
all right.
I mean, that's like so perfect for like Middle Earth dwarfs, though, right?
It is true. And then abbreviated is just suck less. It's just
Suck
like,
less, yeah.
suck less.
That's a battle cry. Suck less.
Suck less. Oh man. Okay, and assuming you're good with that, Inga, then the next thing I
Yes.
think we do is you would head to Thrun, I believe.
Yes.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with Thrun first, and then I'll talk to Tawny and there's
only half an hour left on the clock.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna reverse it then. Let me do Tawny and the River of the Keys. So, okay, so you head down to the Keys now. The Keys,
are jingling in my pocket.
which until I was probably 16 or 17, I thought it was the Quays because I'd never actually heard it pronounced, and I was like, oh, that's okay,
I think that the K is actually like an acceptable pronunciation.
but not Quay though.
Not Quay.
Right. See, I was
Yeah.
thinking about it as like, you go to the
I
Quay.
only
you know?
heard it. I hadn't seen it spelled out until about 5 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yes, I always heard it as Keys because of Florida. Key Biscayne.
Yeah.
Key That, but I'd never seen it spelled out.
I think it's like it's literally a French word like K, like le quai. So I think it's like anyway, the whole thing.
So that's awesome, by the way, Garlic Tofu. Congratulations. That's great. Okay, so the keys are down here. So you can move your tokens down this way, those of you who are heading there.
Far no further?
And I'm sorry?
This far no further?
This far, no further. Okay, so and there are a couple of things to remember here about the keys. So these are the sort of keys proper, and then down here is known as the South Key. And goods that are shipped to Dale that are destined to be sold in large quantities are brought into the city. Generally here is where the South Key is. This is the oldest and cheapest of the wharves of Dale. This was built nearly 400 years ago, by the way, so it's been around for a long time. And although it's unclear who laid the stones of these landings, the dwarves, of course, still confidently swear that it was obviously a master of their people. And the thing that's most notable to you about the South Key is that it still bears the distinct scorch marks of dragon fire. So you can still actually see along some of the sides and the old stonework some, dark scorch marks from a certain famous dragon's attack. Because it is also has the status as the cheapest mooring area of the city, it also attracts many unsavory types who sometimes skulk about the shadows. So it's a good place to go find things that no one else would find things, right? And then the keys proper, including some of the warehouses where some of the goods that come in here are stored, are up here. So it's up to you where you want to begin, but this is where the sailors and the shipwrights, and like down here is where the rough and ready stuff is happening, basically.
Hello.
Different kind of.
Right, sorry.
Yes.
If you were literally coming here to look for some rough trade, I could have just stayed back at the back. River does not say.
I might. Tawny wouldn't. Tawny's just comfortable going back to his bees. So.
His bees. So anyway, yes.
Are you saying he's... No, I can't do it. I can't do it.
I already went there. Don't worry about it. I did.
Sorry.
Yep, just moving on. So.
I'm sorry.
All right, see you later. Okay, so assuming that you're making your way down to one of those, like the South Keys, do you have a thought about where, like, what kinds of you're looking? Are you specifically looking for Howard, Tawny, or what is your plan? Okay. All right. So as you enter the Keys, and you begin looking around. A couple things. First of all, let me see if I've got. Give me the. I need the right sound for this soundscape.
Something with a lot of seagulls in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mine?
Ah ha ha!
Mine?
Mine. Give me the power of Rivertown.
Me sitting there trying to eat a French fry with this horde of gulls. It's about to go in my mouth and just catch one of them by the neck. It's mine! Throw him back out into the wind.
Okay.
It's worse when I'm eating like chili cheese tater tots because I have to keep both my hands involved. I can't really catch a gull like that.
Okay. So the docks at this time are busy noon and night. This is always one of the most happening places. It is not definitely a place for. This is not safe for work language, right? I mean, there is constantly like people shouting at each other, "Oh, your mother," talking about unmentionable things that were unmentionable and impossible, anatomical behaviors, like that everyone's yelling at each other and just like, it's just, things like that are constantly happening. And so there's a lot of this going around all the time. But the other thing that you notice about the Keys here is that there is, despite everything, there is a kind of order amongst the chaos. People that sort of know not to bump into each other when they're carrying a long sort of piece of merchandise from one place to another, and people who almost, without any kind of verbal message to each other, know to sort of duck as a set of barrels is being lifted overhead, so it doesn't bang you in the back of the head, etc. So a lot of that is going on, so I would like both of you to make traditions checks for me, please. If you don't have that, or intelligence would do fine. A traditions check to gather information about where best to find Howard. Okay.
Traditions, you say?
Yes.
Do it. Beat it. Come on. Do it.
Do it. Do it now. Well,
happy to follow Tawny.
You're just like, I've heard of keys, and that's what these are.
River grew up in a forest.
Yeah, right. However, Tawny, you certainly know.
What would she know about rivers, right?
Yeah, exactly. What do you know about the river? I mean, really.
Knows lots about rivers, not so much about boats.
That's true.
Although, that said, she did actually correctly identify the
That's right.
gigantic boat
That's right.
before.
No, that's true. So as you go, as you're sort of looking around, you realize that the most likely place for the reeve of the keys is going to be at a place where some of the biggest boats are just coming into dock, because this is where, basically, this is where the biggest sort of trading that isn't totally legal happens, in terms of being like, here's a docking fee. Maybe I can pay a little less of a docking fee. You know, you're not supposed to pay less of a docking fee. All right, what if I gave you a little bit of goods from the ship? You know, that kind of thing. Like, this sort of thing happens all the time. And it's Halward's job to kind of be like, nope, this is how we do things here, type of thing. So sure enough, Tani, as you lead the way, you actually find in this farthest dock right here within the keys, a very large ship, relatively speaking, has just come in and is currently being unladen. And it seems like the stuff that it was carrying was some kind of set of textiles and things like that. And there are actually a couple of elves on this ship, but most of it is currently occupied by humans. It's possible that there may be elves and humans working together. That's certainly not unheard of. But it's also possible, as sometimes happens, elves can sometimes, especially elves of the Wood Elven King's realm, the Wood Elves realm, sometimes the King of the Wood Elves has just a couple of elvish sailors, which is all they really need to kind of pilot these boats. But then when they get there, they hire a bunch of humans to basically come on and help them unload the stuff. And that seems to be what might be happening now. And so you see a man who is standing in the dock. His arms are folded, and you can sort of see he's kind of looking, and occasionally, nope, over there. And he doesn't say much, but every time he says something, everyone is immediately like, goes to do it. So you get the impression this is someone who people speak to. In fact, he looks something like, give to me this list. There we go. He looks like this popping on your screen in just a moment. In there, and then it's over in here, and then you'd find him right there. There we go. So there we go. So you can see that he's kind of, and he has dark hair, dark beard, looks to be maybe, mid to late 40s, something like that, and is definitely someone.
Hell of a jawline.
Yeah, that is quite a jawline. The beard actually adds +2 to the jawline. I think there's part of that. And so is just, kind of like, I'm up there. And so pays no attention whatsoever to you when you come up to him initially. Now you got it. No. Over there. You take it on the side. All right. Over. Move the thing to the. No. Right. All right. Bring the crate down. What? No. And he's sort of like, talking to people around him.
Sir,
Aye.
would you be Howard?
Aye, that's him. Oh, no. You move it. No. If you move the rope over, if you bang into the dock, you'll pay for it.
This may be a stupid statement, but please bear with me. I was told by the captain of the guard to come and speak to you.
The captain of the guard may have his own business, but I don't have time to speak to anyone except those who are coming off a ship. Like these, over there. And he's like, again, barking orders at somebody else.
It's a ship we're here to ask about, actually.
Everyone wants to ask about a ship. Do you have one coming into the dock?
No, this one left a few days ago. But it was very unusual.
Once it leaves, it don't matter to me what it looks like. No, and
Well, I don't know whether or not it stopped here, but that's part of why we want to ask. It was a very large one, not one usually for these waters. And she goes on to describe the actual things about it. Did that ship ever dock here?
I need you to make a persuasion check for me, River. We want to see whether he's even going to entertain the time. It's unclear whether or not he recognizes who you are. He probably does, or whether he cares, insofar as this seems like an extraordinarily work-focused individual, so to speak. Okay. So at 20, he says,
She's got a very commanding voice.
yeah, like, do what I say. No, he's like, all right. Well, what is this ship you're speaking of?
It would have passed here. A couple of days ago. There were men at the oars. They were all wearing hoods. When we saw it, it was moving very swiftly away, and we would like to know what its business was, whether it stopped here.
Well, what you're describing, at least the basic boat's a typical Darwinian boat, really, for navigating the marshes. Oh, some like those as they are fast, but they can't carry much weight. Unless there's anything more specific about the boat.
What was there? I can't remember now.
There was.
There was. There was the sign. There was an eye on it. That's right. Yes. So River says there was a painting on the side of it, an eye.
And he says an eye. And then he says eye. And that goes on
Eyes
for 10
on first.
That goes on for 10 minutes. No. And he says on the South Quay there was such a skiff, yeah. Well, now that you ask, it was a bit peculiar. Its crew met with 2 men that I'd take for servants of a barding noble. They were wearing a cloak, I remember. It was too dark to see well, I fear, but when they left the docks, I did notice one of them was wearing a red livery under the cloak. Not something you see for most of the men around here. Don't hold it that way, you fool. It'll fall. Look, take over. And then he does that, and then he goes, aye, red livery it was. I remember it. Never seen a boat with eyes like that before. And I've certainly never seen someone with red finery down here in the Keys.
Where would normally one find red livery?
Well, that's something that comes from the petty nobles, you might say. Most of them have servants wearing red livery. I would say you might look for one of the lords of Dale. They'd be more likely to be the ones you want. Of course, there's others. And he kind of like rubs his beard a little bit and he says, well, if you want to find out more, I'm not much for investigating, but there's 2 things for sure. It was a Darwinian boat, or it used to be, and it was those people wearing the red livery. For red livery, you gotta look out find some lords who have their servants wearing it. And as for the Darwinian part, you might want to go to the Commons. Now, the Commons, you all know, is the corner of the residential quarter of Dale. This is found, I believe, I'll have to look at the map again, but I think it's to the north of the market. And normally this is where merchants and wanderers that are passing through town, or the ones waiting to find more stable housing in the city, normally stay. It's not as run down as Brokenstone used to be, but it's kind of like an up-and-coming neighborhood. It's like, it's like Williamsburg in New York, or it's like you find a lot of Airbnbs there, if you know what I mean, right? Jumping at a game for a second. So there's a lot of temporary accommodations for merchants from the east there, a lot of traders and wine sellers from Darwinian. So there are a lot of those that they can find in the Commons area.
Southwest corner.
Southwest corner, okay. So that's kind of the thought that usually comes to mind of the Darwinian part. As for the red livery part, he says that is more related to nobles in general. And if you start, checking in on some of the nobles in the city, you might find some that use that particular kind. But it's definitely a little unusual, so it's not like every lord uses it. It's definitely less common, and it's completely uncommon to see it down in the docks. Sellers with an S, Big Boss, not sellers with a C.
Yeah. So, okay. So they came and so people from that skiff who were hooded, met with servants wearing red livery from town. When they met, do you remember, did they speak for long? Or did they take anyone on board?
They did speak for a while, yes. But as far as leaving with anybody, I didn't notice anything like that. The two nobles left the docks, I know that for sure.
So, sorry, Darwinian is also like it's a place?
Right. Let me bring up.
It evolved to be a place.
So Dorwinian is a land that is in the vales of the Selduin, which is northwest of the Sea of Rune, that is famous for great gardens, and it was also known to be the home of the finest wines in all of Middle-earth. And so if you want to get some of the best wine, you would go there. That was the wine that was imported even by the elves of the halls of Thranduil and Mirkwood. In fact, you may remember that a certain gatekeeper, a certain jailer, basically, and butler end up falling asleep, passing out from alcohol, which is what allows Bilbo and the dwarves to pack themselves in barrels and escape. That's the wine they were getting drunk on.
Never heard of him. Okay, so
So my okay, and it's like, and so like the eye is a specifically Darwinian motif, is the thing.
Yeah, sort of the boat is the thing that's really the motif. The particular kind of boat is favored by the Dorwinians because of the speed of the boat. A lot of what it would do is allow them to navigate the marshes, and they often had to cross over that to get wine from place to place. And it's not like carrying casks of beer, because there is, they carry more than one cask of wine, but the wine that they use, the stoups of wine, are a little goes a long way, so they don't have to bring like massive vats of it like you would
Right.
for dwarven ale or beer or something like that.
And they the last. So the other question I have is more for you. It's like the. So the eye is not a Dorwinian thing. If that's the ship.
Correct.
So-
The ship is. The eye is, but the eye jogged his memory because he was like, oh yeah, this weird, but no, not specific to Dorwinian.
So another thing River will ask is that had you ever seen that eye pattern on a ship before? Does it mean something?
And he pauses and thinks about it and says, no, I can't say as I have seen anything like that exactly. Although, well, sometimes those who paint things on ships are doing it for reasons of establishing that it's part of a particular country or land. But sometimes it's painted as a warding protection, you might say, against others, or spirits, living or dead.
And they didn't unload anything. They weren't actually bringing wine to the docks.
I don't remember about that. I didn't pay much attention. I didn't really have time. But I remember looking up and seeing the eyes on the prow, and then seeing them talking to these two, those wearing the red livery that I talked about. But I didn't see them exchange any goods or anything come on or off the ship other than the people I mentioned.
River looks to Tawny in a kind of like, do you have any questions way?
Should anything else come to mind, please feel free to send a word to the captain of the guard.
And he says, all right, if anything comes my way, I'll let Cardis know. And while I'm at it, I might ask him for a few more of the guards. He promised me he would be down at these docks some weeks ago.
He is doing his best. I spoke with him earlier today.
He's a good man. I just wish that there are people who could... I'd take some men with worse intentions and better actions than the reverse.
Hey, you heard him. Don't hold it like that.
And the person is like, oh, like almost drops it, and then Harlow turns around. All right, now you fool. And he turns back. He says, sorry. Got to tend to them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your help. And River like, so I don't know. This is the sort of situation where like River would like tip someone probably, but it might seem weird now. So she just kind of like,
He already listed the currency he wanted. More guards.
yeah, exactly. So she just shakes his hand and nods and says, "Thank you. You've been a great help."
Well, I'm glad I could do something. At least more than these dunderhead. No, if you... And he, turns around again and is already lost, to you as he's moving off to attend to the next thing. Before I switch to Inga, I do want to ask where Tani and the River are going to head next.
So River is gonna like sidle up to Tawny and say, I don't want to be prejudiced in this matter, but the wealthy of this city absolutely reek of some kind of corruption, and I'm sure that whatever conspiracy was part of poisoning the thread might well have something to do with this as well.
It's strange how quickly those who don't have to actually work for a living tend to become tainted.
So our next lead will be in the Commons, unless there's some work we can do to figure out who exactly employs servants with red livery.
It is a little vague. I don't know how many noble houses here have red in their livery.
We can determine that first, I think, without asking people in the Commons about it. I imagine there'll be some knowledgeable folk or some records. If only we knew someone who knew heraldry.
If only there was somebody like that.
I imagine that there are records that can be consulted on that without necessarily involving other people.
True. All livery must be registered, I'm sure.
A hilarious choice, though, to employ your servants with bright, noticeable red livery in order to go about some skullduggery at the docks.
Or not to not, employ servants who were smart enough to remove it before engaging in such things.
We did, I suppose, try to cover it up, but not very well.
That a man on another key could spot it so easily.
Well, let's keep our options open. But maybe, so I don't know if we want to like head back to the Battered Mug to kind of pool knowledge first before, since we're wrapping up anyway.
Soon, yes.
Okay, so you're going to head back in that direction. All right, then we are wrapping up soon, although not immediately, because I want to take a minute or two just to set up Inga with where she is. Inga, you were having spoken to the workers. We're going to find Thrune again. And although when you get back to the market, which is where I was assuming you were going to find him, although correct me if I'm wrong, were you going to try to find him in the market where you originally saw him?
Yes.
I'm guessing. So his stand is shuttered and closed, but a little bit of work doesn't take very long. People are able to, because he's fairly well known as a toy maker, and they are able to point you towards his workshop, which is basically on the ground floor of a building in Anvil Way. And I need to find down here, which is 13.
Like a dwarf would live somewhere with that name.
It is right up here is Anvil Way. So this, right. Yeah, there we go. That is Anvil Way. And when you get there, it's you can see that it's a decent sized building, actually. And you can see what is very clearly basically the runes that reflect Thrune's toys are hanging on a sign outside. The door is closed, but it's not like late at night, so you could certainly knock if you wish.
So how late is it?
By this point, it's probably... It's early evening, so it's, maybe like 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah, knock on the door.
So when you do that, there's a pause, and then the door opens to reveal Thrun right there, who, yes, exactly, just slides right in. Oh, yes, it's Thane Inga, is it?
At your service.
What may I do for you?
I was hoping if we could talk if may come in.
Oh, of course. Here. And he turns around and brings you in to this wide and dark building. And the first thing you notice when you get in, actually, Inga, isn't the look of it, it's the sound of it, because there are these constant clicking and whirring of wheels and gears. And his workbench, which I happen to have a picture of.
In stream, I assume?
Yes, in stream, coming up in right now. His workbench is filled with all kinds of amazing material. You can see wooden dolls and statues and whirring tops and rocking horses, except that all of these things that you might expect for kids normally all seem to have something different. Like the rocking horse seems to continually be rocking, even though there doesn't seem to be anything powering it or moving around it. And the spinning top, one of them, has been spinning on his workbench when you enter and doesn't stop for a number of minutes.
Uh-oh.
And things like that. Yeah, exactly.
Inception.
So you have to check. Yeah, exactly. It's Dwarfception. Yeah. Damn it. So there's that. You see Leonardo DiCaprio nearby. No. All that. And there are all kinds of like brass calipers and pliers and hammers and tools of all sorts. Some of which you recognize as being the tool work of smithing, and then other ones which are clearly like for fine work, like sort of, close toy work. And there are also drawings describing the design for various mechanical engines that line one wall. And on a table lies what looks to be the beginning of a magnificent toy dragon that is wrought from gold and silver. And as you walk in, you can see all these things. And he says, just give me a minute. I wasn't expecting company. Pardon me. And he's like cleaning tools and bits of machinery off chairs. There's already a bunch of this machinery on the ground, like springs and screws and things like that you can already see. And he says, here. And he finally gestures to you once the seat is kind of clean, for you to be able to sit down on.
Question.
Mhm.
So he's making a toy dragon.
Yes. Seems to be.
Isn't that like a bit in bad taste considering how many people were killed recently-ish by a giant dragon?
People are fascinated by dragons, though.
I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose.
This one won't kill anywhere near as many people.
Yeah. Much better than the original article.
I mean, think about how many like toy soldiers there are and stuff like that, right? Like things
Yeah,
that
but like
or toy guns for that matter. Just
Right.
we make toys out of the things that scare us, so that we can actually have control over them.
There you go.
Inhabit them and stuff.
That's exactly what he says in exactly that eloquent way. I make things out of the things that scare us. And anyway, so when assuming you sit down, he says, I'm anxious to help, but before you start, I did want to just say I haven't adequately thanked you for your help. And I feel I should provide some explanation for the behavior of my kinsmen back there. I mean, I don't mean to excuse them for their aggression, but I pondered the question, and, well, there might be more to it than a simple grudge. But anyway, I'm happy to talk more to you about that, but if you have anything to ask me, I'm happy to answer that too. I just did want to talk to you about them at some point.
Actually, that's basically what I'm here for. I came to ask what that all was about.
Well, it's kind of a bad business, you see. And he sits down, and there's a horrifying squeak, and then he immediately leaps back up. Oh. And he takes out like this half compressed, it looks like a metal doll of some kind with a spring that he's clearly accidentally sat on. He's like, well, I needed to address that anyway. And he puts it on a, it makes this weird sort of cooing, squeaking sound as he puts it on the desk. And then he sits down and he says, you see, in recent years, dwarves from the Iron Hills have watched the rising of the kingdom of Erebor with some mixed feelings. While people like myself have found an opportunity to develop our craft beyond even the wildest dreams of our ancestors. But there's others who pity our ambition and consider our work to be nothing more than a meaningless waste of time, not befitting the cunning of our kind. So, those two poor lads from the Iron Hills feel anger to see jewelers and toy makers like me that have success and prosper in our trade. All the more when to their eyes the honored craft of the toolsmith languishes and forsaken and forgotten. I mean, this is nonsense, obviously. There's a wide world outside our mines and strongholds. There'll always be someone needing good tools like hammers and pickaxes and mattocks. Why, several of my best tools, and he points out a couple of the hammers, come direct from Niping's forge. Niping himself, you know.
I assume Inga would know who that is.
Niping, I believe I may have mentioned, is a fairly well-known dwarven smith. But he goes on to talk more about it. He's one of the masters of Doran's folk. He deserves the respect and admiration of all dwarves. He says, Niping, it's said, made weapons himself for King Dane. One of the greats. He says, but and he drops his voice a little. He's too tired to the old ways, Thane Inga, if you'll pardon my saying. He's made several declarations criticizing the works of the smiths of Erebor. He says that people like me are unworthy of their trade. And, well, you heard from those two lads. I bet they've been taking their orders from Niping, too. I know he's not happy. But, I mean, I understand why. I just wish they could hear our side of the story.
Tell me, I haven't been, though, how do I say that? I've been more or less for personal reasons avoiding anything to do with the Iron Hills in the past years. So tell me, have you how have things been there like the past years? Do you know anything?
Well, it's been difficult in some ways and good in others. The good part, of course, as I said, is that many of my kin and myself have been able to go and find work and success here. And we've been able to send some of that wealth back to our families and the clans in the Iron Hills. And then there's others who think that all that does is make us dependent on the money of men. And some of them think that I've heard someone tell me I was no more than a glorified servant of, or a beast of burden for the men of Dale. I don't agree with that myself, but, well, the dwarves of Erebor and the dwarves of the Iron Hills, I'd be lying if I said they're all happy. There's some doubt that we're losing who we are, no matter how nonsensical it is to me. It's still a good place, you understand. It's my home. The Iron Hills always will be, but it's a little claustrophobic, you might say. I feel like I can't breathe there all the time instead of when I'm here. And he kind of leans forward and he almost puts a hand out and then realizes to touch your arm, and then he kind of pulls back. He's like, you weren't sent to send me back to the mines, were you? I mean, I can stay and do my toys here, right? I mean, when you saw me that day in the toy market, they didn't send you from the Iron Hills to get me, did they?
No. Not at all.
Oh, he literally said, and
I'm your
breathe.
personal business.
All right.
How old does he seem to be?
He looks like a young dwarf.
Like younger than Inga even?
Yeah, probably younger than Inga. Well, close in age, but probably younger, yes. His beard is quite short for a dwarf, for one thing.
Let's see.
In fact, just very quickly, Inga, it occurs to you that it's not only very short, it's not just about youth. Like, it almost looks like he's had to trim it. this way, which is a little unusual for a dwarf. Dwarves are not about trimming their beards usually. They're about, pleating them and braiding them and all that. But,
I see. Has Inga heard anything of like the about these conflicts back home, basically?
not much.
Like from a clan, for example?
Not much. Mostly because, not much, except those general rumors that I told you about like Inga hanging out with not dwarves and, that sort of thing. You've heard a little bit of that here and there, sort of third hand. But no, they haven't told you about conflict. It's sort of a general, almost like maybe growing pains for a land you might have put it down to, except that now you just keep hearing these references to it within recent weeks about the rise of tension, which seems to have ratcheted up considerably, especially in the last couple of months, because it's the first time that you've really started to hear this stuff at this level.
So you mentioned Naping earlier, right?
Yes?
Where is he currently?
Oh, he's back at the Iron Hills, I think. That's normally where he spends his time. Normally he's doing all of his work back there. As far as I know, that's the same place he's always been.
I see. Well, I for one have to agree with things you said. There is no, I don't know specifically about the people at the Iron Hill, but the people back at the Erebor are have been away from home for so long, and the whole idea of being stuck in one place is absurd. Not just to me, but I know to many of us. And,
exactly. And the dwarves need to adjust and embrace some of the new, or they're going to get as old and stale as the mountains. I mean, begging your pardon, of course. There's some new ideas out there, and dwarves ought to be able to take advantage of them.
Indeed, I absolutely agree. Please let me know if anything like the incident from earlier today should happen again. You can find me at the barracks and goes to describe where she has a setup, or if you can't find me there, I do have a friend working at the battered market.
And he says, I'll do that. I'll do that. Oh, and perhaps, wait, I can do something else. And he stands up and scattering more metal and things smashed to the ground and rolled about. One sort of plate goes, as it comes to an end and stops. And he bustles off, and then he comes back after a few moments and he's unwrapping a parcel. And as he reaches you, he holds out something which I am going to show on stream. And it looks like this. He holds out to you what looks to be a silvery mechanical bird, a thrush to be precise. And he says, well, this small mechanical friend of mine's a capable flyer. I've just made it, and I was saving it for something important, and I think this qualifies.
It flies?
He nods. He says,
tweet to each other.
He nods and he says, yes, if you let this, and he winds up the bottom for a second, and it literally, its eyes open, and then as it ripples its wings, you hear, and it's the sound of the wing metal actually sliding in place. It is extraordinary workmanship, right? And he says, I'll show you. And he tosses it up. Now, what happens when he tosses it up is the bird takes flight, which seems like a good idea until a second later when the bird is navigating through a workshop that is filled with metal. So he's like, oh, you might want to, and then he ducks as the bird goes flying around, but it's not doing so chaotically. It swoops a couple of times and then lands on the floor and kind of waddles towards you and then puts its beak down. At first you don't know what it's doing, and then you see that what it's doing is preening underneath its metal feathers, and then as the clockwork stops, basically as the thing winds down, and he says, "If you let this go anywhere from around town or in its vicinity, this'll fly straight back here, only to return to the precise spot from where you let it go if I wound it back and send it out again. So you could deliver a message, writing on a small piece of parchment and tying it to the bird's leg, and I'll make sure the recipient will receive it. You could also tell anyone you wish to check here regularly for messages. I can keep a secret. This bird will only go 2 places, me and you." And he smiles brightly, and his eyes twinkle about as much as the light reflecting off of the metal bird's wings. And he picks it up and hands it to you, and when he puts it on your palm, it's marvelously light. You're almost like amazed that a metal creature could be this light and is just hanging, just standing there, although of course run down at the moment, in your hand.
Like Inga just stand there with this metal bird in her hand and like with her mouth open and like her eyes wide open, and it's like that is incredible. Where? How? What?
And he smiles. Make a perception check for me, please, Inga.
She is speechless.
You get a bird companion after all.
I told
Yes!
you. You're all like, maybe we should get a raven. I'm like, just hang in there for the rest of it. Is that 10?
10.
Yeah, there's this like just a beautiful sort of like the metal you can see has been cunningly, each feather has been cunningly fitted underneath, and you can't even see where the joints are of the feathers, but they're obviously each separately articulated. And underneath is this key that you can see that is wound. The thing looks like spectacularly expensive, and yet even though it's very light, also as you sort of reach just for the key, feels immensely strong. And he smiles and he says, "That was made with some of the feelings of my forefathers within me, I think. Even as I was making it, I felt somehow transported, you might say. I felt like I was doing something, well, perhaps that my father would have been proud of. I lost him some time ago, but he always said that I should follow wherever my passion led me. Even if it led me out of the mines, he told me, no matter what the other fools think. I've always remembered that. I made this thrush thinking of him, and I'd be honored if you use it in your travels to help you while you're engaged in finding out what you need to find."
I don't know what to say. This is just insane. This is incredible.
Not as insane as a dwarf of the Iron Hills making toys. And he smiles at you.
This is not just a toy. Do you know what this is? Just I don't know how to repay you. This is.
He
All right.
says
Takes a deep breath.
there is one thing you can do, if you don't mind.
I'm listening.
He says, "Find a way to bring together dwarves and men. I want to sell my toys to everyone, not just to ones that some people think are worthy of receiving them. If you're able to figure out a way to settle the matters between Dale and Erebor, and Dale and the Iron Hills, well, I think you'd make it all a lot better for all of us working between them. I'm kind of in 2 worlds. I'd like it if the worlds got along better."
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I would have done that anyway. But like, I would have tried to do that anyway. But and like after like a moment, she like gently puts a bird down on the table, and like turns around to him and puts one hand on his shoulder, and then goes, "Never. Stop doing that. That is incredible, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise."
He sighs as if really taking it in. He says, "That means a lot coming from you, Thane Inga. Maybe I hope Balin would have been happy to see me help out however I can."
I'm sure he would have.
And I think that is a good place for us to stop for the day. See, people doubt, and they're like, but will we ever get our own companion? And I deliver you a companion. I do have to say, by the way, that when I saw this described, this awesome thing, there is a mechanical bird in my my middle grade work, which is on submission at the moment. And I was just like, okay, but mine is a pigeon. And I didn't, and I was just like, God bless him, but it's all right.
I do find myself wondering, like, if Inga had a raven companion, how would it react?
Yes.
That's true. I imagine with
Jealousy.
suspicion, right? Like what is this metal
Sorry.
thing? But anyway, this was a lot of fun, folks, as always. And so I will begin, as always, at the bottom of the column and work upwards. Amal, the river definitely got, I think, some good stuff to work with today, whether it was dealing with the stuff with the Balin and sort of speaking to Balin about what he needed. Then obviously getting a chance to work with Harwold and the guy who really is like just the busy contractor trying to, like, the manager trying to get work done, like, what do you want? And then obviously starting to try to piece together bits of this mystery as you are basically like the who shot Balin type of thing, even if Balin is still dead. How did you feel about today? Where would the lovely folks find you next?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was it's neat to have, like, just a kind of, like, I don't know, noir Dale sort of edition of just, like, information gathering, just like Columboing our way through Dale, which I think is really cool. I think my favorite moment though was actually just like being at the battered mug and like confronting
the noble
wealthy snooty sort of person and being like, how do you like them apples,
Yep.
Just, but no, I thought it was really cool. I'm very very excited to see where the ethno-nationalism of the dwarves is going
for the
to go,
dwarves, right?
In this, exactly. Because I just like I couldn't stop thinking, like, make Erebor great again.
I know.
We're going through, and then as I was trying like to articulate,
God, that would be mega.
Exactly,
oh, it's so bad.
Oh, like, mega.
Oh
Really?
no. Oh,
and then literally as I was trying to like say those words, I felt my whole body like lurch away from
yeah.
them.
Oh God.
We still have trauma reactions to that horrible nonsense.
But I do want to say just briefly though, but I think you're 100% right. You're onto something, and this is exactly what Tolkien himself in his work warns against, right? Like the Fellowship itself is a corrective against this nonsense of everyone needs to settle into their own enclaves. Like that is exactly the opposite, because he saw it unfold in front of him. So anyway,
Exactly.
for sure, that's what's going on there. Yeah.
Exactly that. So so this is like so I'm really really interested in where the story is going. I love Balin. I love Balin being here. I super love, in particular, how you're voicing Balin, and I feel like
thank you.
It's just lovely to have like book manifest in game like this, because it really does feel like the Hobbit's Balin and stuff. So I super love that.
Thank you. I'm honored.
I think it's delightful. In terms of things coming up next and stuff. There's actually a virtual convention called GIFCon that is the Glasgow International Fantasy Conference, I think. That's going to be, I think, on towards the end of the month. I will dig up a link and stuff for it, and I'm giving a keynote at that. That should be kind of a Q&A keynote situation. So I'll be there. And what else? About a week from now, today is the 6th, right?
Yes.
About a week from now, I have a column coming out in the New York Times Book Review that will cover 3 books I found really, really fantastic that I'm really excited to share with people. And that's probably it. I have a new website. Well, it's like the same place, but Stu has been overhauling the website, which is exciting to me. So it's still a bit not in its final form, but yeah, things like that. I'm super sleepy today, as it turns out as well. Like my caffeine seems to have been broken. So it was really good to have just a kind of like quieter, more information forward game today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's basically it, and all my links and things will go in the chat.
Good stuff as always. Thank you, Amal. It was good stuff to see. And I should say, by the way, that since we're talking about that, my mother would have been 85 today if she were still with us. This is her birthday. I lost her to breast cancer some years ago, which is why we do the ArvCon Damon Runyon thing. But yeah, April 6th does have significance. When you mentioned the date, I was like, "Oh, that's right. I hadn't talked about that." So anyway, but thank you as always. Yes, and it is not GIFCon, Big Boss. That is not. To be very clear, that is not how we pronounce things.
Here's the link that I am dropping into the chat for it.
Yeah, very, very cool. Very cool. Is it?
It's run by the University of Glasgow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. No, that is definitely cool. Good stuff. Thank you, Amal. Always a pleasure. And of course, you will see Amal back here in a couple of weeks for the second session where we'll find out more about, red livery and Dorwinian wine and, mechanical birds and all that. Speaking of mechanical birds, Terry, always a pleasure as always. And again, Inga too had not only the stuff being done with Balin, as we talked about, and then the battered mug stuff, but then got to hang out and get your, very own mechanical thrush, your very own mechanical bird, which is pretty awesome, and got to hang out in a toy workshop. So there was all that going on. Plus, of course, talk to your dwarven workers and get some info from the common man or common dwarf, as it were. How did you feel about today? Where would the lovely folks find you next?
Well, I mean, first of all, I would like to apologize for being so out of it today. I've been having some meds issues, which have been throwing me off really hard lately.
Oh.
So, but yes, I hope it wasn't too disruptive.
I didn't think so.
I was feeling big same, to be honest. So
yeah. So yeah, no. Aside from that, I had fun. So yeah. And I'm looking forward to the next session. And now I have a mechanical bird, which is really cool, and that is nice. And yeah, where will people find me next? I guess, did we say next Tuesday or the week after?
Next Tuesday for you and me for our finishing up the Way of the Assassin game book, probably, but also premiering Terry doing the live drawing, the camera drawing, so you get to see Terry drawing as she does it with the camera. So very physical and awesome.
I hope the quality is going to be okay, because I'm going to have to use my webcam for that.
It'll be good. The biggest thing will be the quality of the art, which will be tremendous, as always.
Yeah, well, I mean, thank you, but if people can't see it because the resolution is too bad, that's
yeah. But I saw
issue.
but I saw the picture. I mean, it's not, you're not showing grainy 160p or something.
No, I've been doing test streams, so to speak, through Discord on a bunch of servers I've been on.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the quality there is not great.
That's largely on Discord.
Know.
Discord's video is very shaky still. So Zoom will be fine. I've seen. Okay. Listen, if I see it in Zoom and it looks good, then it will look good for people on stream because I'm capturing the same thing. So it'll be good.
Okay, good.
It'll be
good. What's the word? Beruhigt. What the fuck is beruhigt in English? The thing where you don't worry. That.
Copacetic.
Satisfied.
Satisfied.
No.
Calm. Tawny Bear. I don't know.
Tawny Bear. Yeah, I'm Tawny Bear.
Content.
No, I'm a Trenny Bear.
A Trenny Bear. I didn't say it first. I
know. I was waiting for it. I didn't want to be.
Someone was going to say it. But it's always a pleasure, Terry. And make sure that you follow Terry on all the things, in internet and otherwise.
Oh wait, I had one thing that I wanted
please.
to for any people in chat that might be able to speak and understand the German language. I have a German language heraldry server now, and would love to have people join. So if you want to join, drop me a message on Discord. I'll send you an invite.
Ooh, cool.
Or on Twitter, that also works. Anywhere, like Atari Tools. Google me, you will find me somewhere.
Very cool. Awesome.
Okay, yes, that's me.
Thank you, Terry. Again, Brad Bollier was not able to join us today, but will be back for the 20th. He plays Bolibris Took, and will probably be interested to hear that he spent a lot of his time frantically cooking at the Battered Mug. It seems appropriate, but he will get invested in one of these threads of investigation the party is involved with. And yes, heraldry, Big Boss. Terry's been doing a lot of that as of late. And right above Brad's window, or where Brad would be, of course, is Trendane with Tawny Bear. And again, Tawny had not only the sort of had to report things to Cardis, ended up was like, you should talk about the keys. And so that was the second time that you were the one who got the information about the keys with Harwold. And then you got to deal with Harwold, and then also got to deal with the Battered Mug situation and all that. So you've also got your investigation that's going. And everyone, of course, is telling everybody else to be discreet. Like, make sure you don't tell too many. At a certain point, you're like, who do I not tell about the thing with the stuff? But anyway, how did you feel about today, Trent, and where will the lovely folks find you next?
First of all, the description of Thrun? No, Thrun.
Thrun. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thrun.
Thrun.
His workshop. I immediately expect to see Chaosthenes in one corner, and for her to wind up the bird and go, "It's show him," and throw it across and kill somebody.
Yep. Trent is referring to the Greyshade book, which he knows very well because he did the audiobook for it. And if you want to know more, you'll find out more with Greyshade coming very soon, because it's going to be published by Athos Arts, which I announced earlier. Thank you, Trent. Check is in the mail. On you go.
Okay. There was another thing that I was going to say, and I've forgotten what it was, so it must not have been. No. What? Okay, for you, Amal, we will now have to see which side Tauri leans to, or I should say Inga leads to, as to what color she paints her bird, blue or red.
Oh, this is how you lose the Dale War. So
right.
Oh, you win
This
no
is
matter
how you
what.
lose the Dale War.
Um,
I hate you.
So
God! I feel the urge to throw something at you, but I can't. It
good
makes
luck.
me
It's a
angry.
long way.
it's a long way.
It's a long way.
She'll
Maybe
wait
my
until we
anger
actually
will
meet each
fuel
other
me.
in person, and I'll be like, oh, we should say hi, and you'll be like, first I throw this in your face. Like, what? Why?
Ah!
Remember, so many years ago, you said this and that in that context.
Exactly.
You're like, what?
Here's the YouTube video. I've had it queued up
Which
for
you
16
kept on her
years.
phone for like, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, man.
YouTube shut down 7 years ago. How long have you had that? Anyway, yeah, for when you guys will see me next, we'll be back here. Saturday.
I
for
think this
Palace of
Saturday
Red
for
Pasha.
Palace of the Red Pasha.
But it seems like there was something else. Well, I mean, if you're in Martinez, California tomorrow, which is about 50 miles north of here, you'll see me getting my first vaccination shot.
Yay! Huzzah!
Yay! Well done.
That's awesome. Do you
I could
know
get
if you're doing
vaccinated.
Pfizer or Moderna or any
It's
of those?
supposed to be Pfizer.
Supposed to be
my
Pfizer?
hope is that when I get there, they'll say we had a bit of a snafu and the Pfizer stuff had to be recalled, so you're going to be getting the single Johnson & Johnson. I'll be like, I don't care.
No, yeah, it'll be worth it regardless. So
Yeah.
I am
question.
as of this Thursday. It'll be 2 weeks past my second dose, and I'll be officially fully protected, as they say, which is
So-
awesome. So
Like, I get why Arf would get vaccinated because he's a teacher. But like, how did you get vaccinated, Trent?
I'm over 50 and I'm diabetic.
Okay. Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
Thing too, Tari, the
Huh?
it's been progressing really quickly in the States in terms of like the rollout. So
Yeah.
depending
Not
on where
here.
you are, there's like so like in New York, they're vaccinating people in their 30s right now.
Yeah.
In some states, the uptake for the vaccine has actually been really low, so they've been moving through their lists very quickly. I'm really, really glad you've got it though in Trent, because I know California has had one of the slightly slower rollouts because just like
Yeah.
there's so many people. but like I know people in California who like are from other states originally, and they're kind of like, should I go to my home state where no one is taking the vaccine because of hesitancy or whatever,
Yeah.
and just get it there? So
One of the things that people talked about was finding the reddest, most Trump voting county you can find, because what they're finding is that there's plenty of vaccine appointments available there. I mean, which is just, But I do have to say, I saw a little note that showed that the U.S. is now second in the world in terms of rate of vaccination behind the U.K. And it's awfully nice to be proud of my country for a change in doing something. It's amazing what happens when you get competent government, and thinking about the lives lost because of the incompetence of the previous one is whatever. But I'm happy that we're doing it now. And yeah, it has really been a federal government showing what it can do when it gives a damn. And that's been good to see. So yes, the rate is increasing. In fact, what they want to do is hit a goal of 4 million vaccinations a day. They literally vaccinated something like 5% of the population within the last 4 days or something crazy, so that's great. We need that, because deaths are plummeting in the vaccinated groups because it effing works, because science works. So get the freaking vaccine.
And remember,
meanwhile, in Ontario,
I heard from Canada is doing. I know. I heard another Canadian friend of mine told me that it was really slow.
It's abysmal here. It's partly because we do unlike the UK, which has a centralized healthcare system, and just everyone is getting AstraZeneca very quickly. Partly because it's also manufactured there. Canada doesn't have any manufacturing capacity for the vaccine in the country, so we are reliant on the doses arriving from elsewhere.
Yeah.
But also in Ontario, I have no idea how it's going in other provinces. But in Canada, healthcare is a provincial thing, so it's up to the premier of every province to figure out the rollout for respective ones. Our premier is Doug Ford, who hilariously used to be, perhaps still is, who knows, an actual drug dealer who is terrible at getting drugs to people. So he is just truly terrible, truly atrocious. Ontario is supposed to sort of a little bit be in a lockdown right now, but nobody knows what it means because he has diffused the meaning of lockdown and shutdown and emergency brake and gray zone or whatever. So he's just a terrible, incompetent, absolute nincompoop, and there are a lot of suffering as a consequence. Also, it requires a lot of internet literacy, and so they're having difficulty, I think, filling slots at the more elderly population levels if people are in rural areas and stuff. There's just a whole logistical nonsense thing about it. And meanwhile, Stu and I are in a very stable situation where we are, so we're just kind of this doesn't change things for us particularly, but it does mean it's we just want to get the vaccine at some point.
No, exactly. And I wanted to. I told someone before that CanCon, which of course always happens in October, I believe, something mid to late October usually, is something I always love being able to go into Canada for that. And I obviously couldn't do that. And it used to be that it was because the U.S. were the idiots and weren't vaccinating properly, and so the border was shut. And when I talked to the same Canadian friend, they're like, "Well, it may be now that Canada doesn't want you to come in for your own good because Canada can't get its act together." And I was like, "I mean, I'll laminate my card and show it to whoever I want. You give me the vaccine passport, whatever. I just want to see friends and be going to live cons again. And I would love to be able to go to CanCon if they have it live, in Ottawa. So I don't know."
Oh, it'd be so good.
I know. We had Mal and I had an amazing brunch in Ottawa a couple years ago at CanCon. It was great. So I would love to do that again. But
in parting, I will say to remember that just because you get the vaccine does not mean that you cannot still carry a teensy bit of the thing. It's like galoshes. Your socks may not get wet, but you can still track mud back in the house. So just because you got the vaccine, keep wearing your damned mask.
Yeah, just exactly. And take it easy when you get vaccinated. Also, it doesn't happen that second. You have to wait for your body to produce antibodies. So follow the guidance, follow the science, and all that kind of good stuff. Sorry, Trent, didn't mean to.
Thank you, Tarek.
No,
that's
amazing.
Or
that's
wear
fun.
that, and that's, that's not, shouldn't be pandemic related. You just have that anyway. You just wear that.
She does. That's why it's at her desk.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, friends.
All right.
Going.
time to head out. Always a pleasure. Chat, can we say thank you and amazing work to the players? Players, thank you so much. Tren and Terry and Amal, thank you all so much. And I will see you folks soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So that is going to do it for them, and it's going to do it for us on this channel. I should say, since we're talking about anniversaries that and about milestones and things like that, that actually the anniversary of, as I transition back over there, my anniversary of 9 years streaming is coming up next Monday, April 12th. I don't know if I'm going to be doing anything on April 12th or not to celebrate that, but it will be 9 years streaming on April 12th, 2021, which is hard to believe that it's been a while. It's been a while since I streamed myself your first game. But anyway, well, we might do something like that. I might, have a laugh and show a couple of my original streams, which were technologically quite interesting, sort of. But anyway, we'll see. I know, right? It's crazy. But anyway, we'll see. But that I did want to mention that because that date is there. And of course, I also want to let everybody know that we have got more stuff happening on this channel. For those of you who missed the two big announcements that I made earlier on, first announcement is that at 4 p.m. today, I'm going to be over at GOG with Pen and Pixels, and I'm going to be doing my game, which is going to be Neverwinter Nights 2 Complete. I'm going to be premiering it over there, and I'm going to be playing that both there and here during video game streams. And I'm going to be doing that. It'll probably be a few months that I'll be doing it because it's a longer game, but I really want to do it because I've been wanting to play Mask of the Betrayer. And what everyone told me is that it doesn't really make sense to play Mask of the Betrayer until you've played the original campaign because it's the same characters and stuff like that. So I'm going to start with that, and then we're going to follow along with that. So my plan is to be doing that. So that's going to be premiering over on GOG. So that's the big surprise, is I'm going to be playing Neverwinter Nights 2 Complete. The second big announcement, though, in case you missed it, is that the Greyshade Kickstarter, which I had mentioned was going to be delayed, has been delayed till probably late summer is when we're going to be launching it. But the reason we're doing that is because the publication of one of the reasons is the publication of the first book, Greyshade, is going to happen separate from the Kickstarter, and that is going to be published by Athos Arts, and that is going to be published very soon. We don't have a specific date, but that's going to be happening certainly in the next 2 months, I think it's fair to say. So Greyshade is going to come out and be released. We're going to be sending it everywhere to get hopefully some other reviews and information about that. There will be all new cover art for those of you who got the original version that came out with Storm Talons. It will also be slightly different in that it does not have the Storm Talons material. It's the original manuscript of that. So that is going to be available to all of you on, that's going to be available to you, and it's going to be published from Athos Arts. And then the sequels of this, it's the first book of the Grey Assassin trilogy, and the sequels, Renegade and Heretic, are going to be both released as a part of the Kickstarter. And so if you like the book and you're like, this is awesome, I really want more, you're going to get the 2 books from the Kickstarter. You will also get the board game from the Kickstarter, which is super exciting. The tabletop game, which I'm also pretty pumped up about, which is coming from Alligator Alley Entertainment, and of course the audiobook from Trendane. And all of that is going to be part of this Kickstarter that launches later this summer. So Greyshade, the book, is going to come out now, and then the Kickstarter is going to launch later in the summer, which is great because it gives us time to do everything, basically, and I'm very excited about that. But the book is coming, so I will have the announcement for you about when it's being released. But again, in fact, I even have edits back from EDE Bell, so I have those edits back. John Helfers is also editing this book, and I'm going to get edits from him. So the book is going to be in good shape, I think, by the time all of you get it and have a chance to buy it. So very excited about that, and that is the big news, which is Greyshade being published by Athos Arts, date of publication coming very shortly, and then Greyshade Kickstarter as a whole being released later on in the summer. So that's pretty cool. With all of that said, I am going to rise up on out of here. Schedule-wise, what we've got going on this week is as follows. Of course, we had Sod yesterday with Grumbler's Guide. Later on today, we have got, hold on a second. All right, that was that. Later on today, so we've got Pen and Pixels. Then tomorrow we have got Community D&D with Shadowed Mage and crew. So Echo and Trifid and Rock God and Hoodie will be back, continuing their awesome Dragon of Icespire Peak playthrough. Thursday the 8th we will have off. Friday the 9th we have got Esper Genesis back. Saturday the 10th we have got Palace of the Red Pasha, as Tren mentioned, so you'll see them for that. And then on Sunday the 11th we have got the special joint Speculate Twitch stream of Blades in the Dark, Case of the Cindered Seal with Brandon O'Brien and company. And then on Monday, Emberwind is up in the air, so I'm not sure about Emberwind. Next Tuesday, we'll have The Way of the Tiger Assassin Gamebook with Terry Toons and her new setup, and more of Neverwinter Nights 2 complete. So we got a lot of days coming up that are going to be really exciting, and I am super happy about all of that, and yeah. Also, I should say that for my next night stream, where I don't have this natural lighting around me, which I am so happy with. I wish it looked like this all the time because it just looks so good and there's so much light and I love light. But for the night stream, I've got something special planned. And it relates to the look of this place. And you will see when you come back for one of my evening streams. I don't think it's going to get dark enough for us to notice this tonight on Tuesday, but definitely for my Friday night stream, you will definitely see that. So, surprises await. We will see. Arv is a plant. Confirmed. That's my plan. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, though. I'm going to rise up on out of here. I got to get ready for GOG and Pen and Pixels and Neverwinter Nights 2 complete premiere. If you liked what you saw and heard, please follow the channel. Please check out the YouTube at !ArvTube, Discord, !ArvCord, Twitter, !ArvTweets, website for all of this, arvaneleron.com. Financially, !ArvShop is the merchandise area that's going to be reworked soon, but you can still get Adventures of Middle-earth, Infinity and Beyond stuff, and soon Esper Genesis stuff there as well. Arv Treon is the Patreon, 21 patrons, $192 per month. Always appreciated because that allows us to do things like get money for an awesome camera and, pay my voice acting team, the Arv vocalists, and do other cool stuff like that. So all of that is made possible by the generous support of the viewers. And also, of course, you get some cool stuff like inspirations to help your players and things like that, which is available as well. And of course, we have got the subscription. Subscribing to the channel allows you to do that as well. Get inspirations to the players, get those custom sub badges and emotes too. I will not be adding a green screen. Nope. No green screen. I don't need a green screen. I got this, man. I got this. No, it's not a green screen. It does relate to the look, but it is definitely not a green screen. I am not a green screen guy. But anyway, yes, so we've got that stuff going on. Then on the publishing side, Icarus is, again, that Icarus graphic novel from Athos Arts, the finalist for the IBPA Benjamin Franklin Awards. Announcement of that is next month in terms of who wins gold medal, but I'm already a medalist of some kind, which is really awesome. Library is Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, my 5e adventure and sourcebook from Alligator Alley Entertainment. Alligator Alley is doing the tabletop role-playing version of the Grey Shade game, designed by Aaron Rosenberg. Super happy about all of that. And of course, Grey Shade KS for the Grey Shade Kickstarter. As I said, that has been pushed back to later in the summer, but we are going to have the Grey Shade book coming out now in the next couple of months, which is really exciting from Athos Arts. So that is really, really cool. Me blocking half of them. Hey, listen, you get the look, all right? You see the look, you see the screens. That's what happens. Anyway, that's the deal with that. And of course, last but certainly not least, as always, BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. And Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Important to reach out to others when you need help, important to reach out to others when they need help as well. I want to thank everyone who made this an awesome stream today. Solid turnout today. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Dragonspear, Hillness, Terry Toons, Triffany Mats, and Shattermage. Thank you so much as well to my subscribers, Dragonspear, Hillness, Terry Toons, Triffany Mats, Echo Alpha X5, Balsteg, Craigery, Arenth, Mrs. Dunsel, and Trendane. Thank you as well to my Patreon supporters, including Amal El-Matar, who's the first on that list. Thank you for all the Patreon support. Dragonspear actually also just supported at a higher level in the Patreon, so I'm very grateful for that. So thank you to everyone who is supporting that stuff. Thank you to Big Boss, to Black Fury, to Day Underscore, Divinorium, ECAG, Electrical Longboard, who I have to get rid of because it's a bot, Gorgar, Kooky Canuck, Live Suing, 9 is Healthy, Not Sky, Stone to Death, 907, Streamers Area, Tauntoms, T-Bank, The Hubinator, U Christensen, VNK, and Yosef Sa. Thank you all so much. Yeah, best mods in the biz, exactly. Thank you all so much for being awesome, and I will see you lovely people over on GOG in about 15 minutes for the premiere for Pen and Pixels and the premiere of Neverwinter Nights 2 Complete. Until then, everyone be good to each other. Have a good night.